What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? I'm just getting the stream started today, and today I want to talk about, I had a little discussion at Hangouts earlier with Get the Smoke, and essentially we were talking about who deserves to be pound for pound top 5 more. Like, who deserves pound for pound higher rating? Naoya Inoue or Errol Spence Jr., right? And I personally felt that Inoue deserved it more than Spence because I feel Spence's body of work has been good, but I don't really rate it as pound for pound, at least that high, if I'm being completely honest. So that's what I want to talk about. I have everything ready here to talk about it, and I think Smokes can come on sooner or later, and we can essentially chop it up. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I really do think it's I'm biased. You won the debate already. I think it's like not to discredit Spence because I do think he's good. I just think it's a little bit of hype. I think it's mostly off the Mikey win, but Mikey wasn't even rated as a welterweight. And, his best wins are Kell Brook and Sean Porter, and those are good wins, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that that's enough to make it so that you're pound for pound. Top 5 anyways, right? If you want to say 10 because he's unified, or, even though Mikey had moved up, it still gets credit, and I do think you get some credit, but it's not like Mikey was pound for pound welterweight and he beat him. It wasn't like he beat a Terrence Crawford or a Manny Pacquiao, right? This is a guy who's pound for pound at lightweight, like Lomachenko. So, yeah, I'm gonna drop the StreamYard link right now. Yeah, what's up, Marlon Machine? I saw Lisa Bales in here earlier, Soccer Training Club. Salute, guys. Hey, how's everyone doing? Glad to see everyone is doing well. I'm just going to drop the link in the chat right now if anyone wants to come up and talk about it, disagree or agree with me. Samuel Shaw, what's up? I'm just dropping the links in various places. So yeah, I mean, I can start breaking it down now, or I can wait till people get on. But this is a subject that I think a lot of people, and mostly people who are fans of American boxers or don't really pay attention to the smaller weight classes, these are the type of people who may favor Spence over Inoue, and I can understand why someone would have that rationale. But when I actually break it down and you look at, oh, here we got Smoke right here. What's up, Smoke? How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm listening to you mischaracterize my position, but go ahead. Go ahead and make your generalization.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm saying this is I'm making a general statement. I feel like there's a lot of people out there, including some pundits, who maybe rate Spence a little too highly based on some wins. And I think are good wins, I just don't think they're at the level of Inouye's at the moment. I think his top 2 wins are Porter and Brook, right?
I don't know why we would look at top 2 wins when you're talking about resumes.
No. Yeah. Talk about, okay. So break down his resume to me. Tell me what's up. Raider from LA, what's up, man?
I thought we'd go on this little journey together. And right now I'm using some new tech. I got on my phone because I'm having issues with my laptop, and in my house, messed up internet service. So I'm looking for my file. Hold on 1 second.
Let me know when you're ready. I'll just be talking to the
I figured we'd do it. I figured we'd do we'd put up the box rec, look at both of their all of their opposition, because there's a lot to unpack when it comes to really what the argument is. Errol Spence versus Monster. I think part of it has to do with how complete they are as fighters, and then another part of that is their resume.
Yeah. So what is your? Let me get this. Let me preface essentially. What is your ratings? Like, how do you rate someone pound for pound?
Right. Pound for pound, it definitely is linked to the 4 criteria of how you win around. Effective, aggressive, clean punching, ring generalship, and effective aggression, right? And that you have that part of it. Then there's another part of it that goes with how complete you are as a fighter. Have you mastered your own style, or is there holes in your style that you?
Is there? I'm sorry, you cut off a little. Smoke, you're kind of out of it right now.
Yeah. Let me fix my connection. I'll be.
All right, cool. Just
go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll just talk to the chat right now, and yeah. So if I want to talk about how I would characterize pound for pound, I normally look at there's a basic litmus test of basically how they look in the ring against their opposition, right? Like if they look good against their opposition, or if they are beating guys who are good, then you're going to rate them. But for me, it's mainly down to resume and what they've accomplished, and the context of the resume, right? So if someone, I forget who the exact fighter is, but there's somebody who has a win over Rung Visai, and Rung Visai was a multiple weight world champion, and he had that win against Chocolatito twice, and he's the one who basically dethroned him for pound. And this person said, well, he beat Rung Visai, and Rung Visai is really good, so therefore this guy is better than Rung Visai. But if you look at the context of the fight, it was Rung Visai's boxing debut, his first professional fight. So while you do get some credit for being Rung Visai because he is a fighter who is good, he wasn't the fighter who beat Chocolatito when you beat him, right? He was still just a novice, or getting into boxing. I believe he did another combat. He did another combat sport prior, but that's not the point. The point is that's his first professional fight, right? So yeah, that's why I like to look at resume, and I just feel that Inouye's resume is superior to that of Errol Spence's when you put the context into place. And even without context, I guess, but that's not. I mean, that makes no sense. Why don't you do that? Soccer Training Club, what's up? How you guys doing? Raider from LA, what's up? If you want to come on the panel, let me know. Samuel Shaw, what's up with it? Unbiased, how you doing? Unbiased had a great stream earlier. If you didn't check it out, we were rewatching the Billy Joe Saunders versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight and rescoring it. And essentially, Unbiased had this idea because he wanted to. Did he run away? No, I don't think Smoke ran away. I think it's just some technical difficulties. 1-2 Kid in the building. What's up, guys? What was I saying? I don't even remember. In the resume, Inouye has a better resume. I just think that he's fought higher rated people. I think he's fought more top 10 people, more top 3, more champions, multiple weight divisions. He's actually younger than Spence as well. So Edgar Zviera, what's up, man? How you doing? I don't know, man. I just feel Inouye is ranked higher on pound for pound. I would rate him like anywhere in the top 4 is acceptable to me. Sergio, how you doing, man? What's good? If you guys wanna jump on, let me know. I'll drop another link in the chat. And I'd be interested in what you guys think as well. Just let me know in the chat. I can pull it up if you want. But yeah, this is a topic. I mean, let me check the Ring magazine. Where do they rank Errol Spence? I'm sure it's high. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be ranked at all. Although I do think he's a little. I don't want to say overrated because I don't think he's bad and it has a negative connotation. But I just think he's been maybe pushed a little higher than he should. Yeah, he's number 6. Okay, 6 is okay. But that's what I'm saying. You have to actually look at the resumes, and that's something I'd be interested in looking at. Like I know right now Manny Pankow's at number 10, and Beterbiev's at number 9. Even though I like Beterbiev, I would actually have to look at his resume deeply and think, well, how many former, future, current world champions has he beat? He's currently unified, so I know he defeated Alexander Gvozdyk, who had taken the belt off of Adonis Stevenson, who was a former lineal and WBC champion. And I mean, no offense to Spence. Like I'm saying, he's an excellent fighter. I just don't know if I would rate him above Inouye. And Ring Magazine has Inouye number 3, actually above Crawford. So that's probably controversial for some. Unrivaled, what's up, man? Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. If you guys didn't check out Unbiased's live earlier, we rescored the fight. It was a great live. We had a full panel, very knowledgeable panel, and there was commentary. You could follow along, and that's the kind of content you can expect to see on Unbiased's channel, Raider from LA's channel. You're gonna see guys like me, Smoke, on there. And yeah, I think it's a great exercise because it essentially allows people to score fights together. You can kind of get into the, how to score a fight if you're not really sure. Smoke's and backstage now. What's up, Smoke?
Hey, what's up, man? Keep on chopping it up. I need maybe like 2 or 3 more minutes while I go to an adequate place.
All right, it's fine. I'm just gonna mute you and unmute yourself when you're ready. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, cool. What's up, Unraveled? How you doing, Mark? Yeah, so I don't feel this paints the full picture, but the top wins that Errol has, not even like top 2 or whatever, just his most notable wins, I think everyone can agree, is Kell Brook and Sean Porter, right? And I personally feel that Sean Porter is elite at welterweight. He obviously hasn't won every fight, but he has been competitive in every fight, and that's why I personally rate him highly as a welterweight. Tangible, what's up, man? How you doing? If you think Spence is better than Inouye, you lack intelligence. I'm not going to go that far. That's that's a little cruel, but we got Mark here. What's up, Mark? How you doing?
I'm good. I'll debate you.
Debate me?
Yeah, I'll debate you. I'll debate in favor of Spence over Inouye.
Okay, man. That's cool. Do you believe that, or are you just trying to debate?
No, I'll just debate it.
Oh, okay, cool. We got Intangible on the panel as well. What's up, Intangible? How you doing?
Yo, what's happening?
What's up?
Nothing much really. I haven't been doing much all day. Just went on a walk.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I should go out. I didn't really go out today. It's not bad outside. It's pretty cool. But what do you said in the chat earlier? If you think Spence is better than Inouye, you lack intelligence. What is your, what makes you say such a thing?
Well, Inouye is unified, and so is Spence, but Inouye has gone through more weight classes. He's fought better levels of opposition. He's fought future Hall of Famers. He's fought more world champions in less fights, and he's arguably fought the best fighters in each of the divisions he's fought in. He fought long-reigning champion Adrian Hernandez in the first division he fought in, which was 108, and then he beat one of the longest-reigning champions of all time, Omar Narvaez, at 115, and then he's since gone on to defeat Donaire, future Hall of Famer. And he's gone on to win 3 belts at 118, and he's a 4-time champion.
Yeah, so you highlighted some of the points where that's why I feel that he is rated higher than Spence. And I have like a whole list. I did a breakdown. I'm sure Mark is going to be familiar with the format once I go through with it. You as well, Intangible. But yeah, I'm interested to hear, Mark. Why are you arguing or debating for the sake of debating that Spence is pound for pound rated higher than Inouye?
I think there's a good argument.
That's it.
I think there's a good argument. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good one too because that's why I decided to go live. I was gonna go live today, and you for sure I was, but I didn't know what topic I wanted to do. And we had talked about this earlier in the chat, and I felt it would be good because it is, I don't know, man. I've been wanting to do a live or a video where I can highlight some of the lower weight classes like Superfly or Bantam or Light Fly even, because I think there's a lot of talent there, a lot of good fighters there, and I feel like they're not really represented well by a lot of boxing YouTubers, mostly just because they are small, you know what I mean? Or people can't pronounce their names easily, which is surely a barrier of entry for some, I'm sure.
Oh, I think you can make a good argument that Tanaka is better than Spence, pound for pound.
You probably could. I mean, I haven't looked into, like right now, I just did Inouye's resume. I kind of broke it down. I have it on this paper over here. But, yeah, I mean, exactly. There's a lot of these lower weight classes that don't really get the attention. They have really good resumes, and people don't really acknowledge that because they either, A, don't watch them, or B, just don't care and, think that the heavier is better. Like welterweight is that division where they get power and speed. So people think the lower weight classes have no power, which is not quite true if you look at guys like Inouye, who's arguably the pound for pound hardest puncher in boxing right now. Tim Dub, what's up, man? How you doing? Can't stay, got a doctor's appointment. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.
So are we getting into this debate?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Smoke to come back, or and unless you want to kick it off, Mark, but I have Inouye's resume essentially broken down in this memo pad here, and I'm ready to dish it out, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's start. Go ahead.
All right. So Inouye is a multiple 3-weight world champion, right? His current record is 19-0, 16 KOs. And at light flyweight, he beat Ryoichi Taguchi, who was top 10, top 3. He became a future champion, and he was a Ring Magazine champion later.
Stop for a second. Intangible, don't cut over him when he's in the middle of saying stuff because I didn't hear his point. Restart that part on Ryoichi Taguchi.
All right. Ryoichi Taguchi, at the time, he had beaten him for the Japanese title, but he would later become a top 3. He would become a future champion, right? And a Ring Magazine champion. He beat him by 10-round unanimous decision. And at the same weight class, like flyweight, he beat Adrian Hernandez, who was a top 3 WBC champion, and he knocked him out in the 6th round. He also has like some fights in between against guys who aren't rated as high. I'm not going to really cover those because then if you do that for guys like Canelo's early fights or Wilder's early fights, it's a bunch of unrated people. So his next top 2 wins at super flyweight are Omar Andres Narvaez, who was a top 10, top 3 WBO champion, and he KO'd him in the 2nd round. And you have Kohei Kono, who was a top 10 former WBA champion just a fight before. He lost to Luis Concepcion, who's a good fighter, and he beat him in the 6th round by TKO. Okay. And then you have the majority of his work, which is his 3rd weight world championship bantamweight, where he beats Jamie McDonnell, who was a top 3 WBA champion and former IBF champion, who I believe he won a vacant title and then vacated it, and he knocked him out in the 1st round. And he also beat Juan Carlos Payano, who was a top 10, top 3 former WBA and IBO, if you count that. I don't personally, but and he beat him by KO in the 1st round, right? And this was in the WBSS. And then he beat Emmanuel Rodriguez, who was a top 10, top 3 IBF champion, and he knocked him out in the 2nd round. And then he would go on to beat more recently, and this I'm sure the win people know about, to unify the bantamweight division. He beat Nonito Donaire, who was a top 10, top 3 WBA champion, former pound-for-pound rated for multiple years, and future Hall of Famer.
Okay. Now, are you saying future Hall of Famer or future possible Hall of Famer?
I'll say possible, but I think most people can agree he will be. Is that fair?
He should. No, I'd say most people say he should be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not will be, should be, because we never know with the Hall.
Yeah, okay. He should be a future Hall of Famer based off of his own resume. He's an excellent fighter.
Okay, so let's go down to the start of his resume, right? Ryoichi Taguchi.
Yeah.
Right. Break down his resume for me. Ryoichi Taguchi's.
I know that when they fought, he hadn't become a champion yet at that point, right?
He was a Japanese titleist, wasn't he? Or did he have a draw? He won the vacant against Yuki Chinen, I think.
Yeah, so he would go on to win the WBA light flyweight title, and he would defend it against multiple opponents.
Who did he beat to pick up the WBA World Light Flyweight title?
Rosell.
Okay.
Alberto Rosell.
And who did he defend against?
Songnui, Rosa, Landieta, Miyazaki, Canizales, Barrera. Well, he defended against Canizales by a draw, and then Melindo, and he lost to Hudler, and then afterwards he lost to Tanaka.
Okay, so the best win that he got there was Milan Melindo.
Yeah, for the IBF.
That was the best win. Like, I'm sure. Do you disagree with that? Do you have someone else?
No, I agree completely. It's a unification.
Yeah. So he well, never mind that. Milan Melindo has the best resume of all those guys, doesn't he?
Yeah. I'm just saying it also happens to be his best accolade.
Yeah. Now Melindo at that time, since that fight, since we're saying what Ryoichi Taguchi went on to do, can you tell me after that fight what Melindo went on to do, please?
I don't think he did anything. Didn't he just lose?
Yeah. Okay, so he was on the decline. Okay, so we specified that he was on the decline. Okay, so he got a draw against Carlos Canizales. That's a good draw. Did you see the fight?
I didn't watch the fight, no.
Intangible, did you see the fight?
Canizales versus Melindo actually didn't.
No, Canizales versus Ryoichi Taguchi.
No.
Okay. Most people felt Canizales beat the crap out of him and it was a robbery draw. But he got a draw. Although it was politically helping him get the draw in Japan with the situation. Now, also on that resume, he had Luis de la Rosa, right?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody on his resume without clicking on it?
No, probably not.
Do you know anyone on Songwe's resume? Can you break down Songwe for me?
I mean, I could, but that's like we're getting really, really deep into one guy.
Well, that's
like
what
a guy of
no,
a guy's
no.
resume.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what you do.
Mark.
We're breaking down
Yeah.
the resumes, aren't we?
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I understand that, and I understand, but I've done the basic breakdown of Inouye's resume, right? So now let's do the same for Errol Spence.
We will in a minute. We will
Okay.
in a minute. I just want to bring up all of the points. Pacquiao is probably the best win, by the way, on Songwee's resume. He was a world champion. That was for a vacant. That's his biggest. He was a vacant world champion winner. He got knocked out by Kazuto Ioka.
That was the minimum weight title, no? And then Ioka beat him later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a vacant as well. If you go and look at what Ryoichi Taguchi went on to do afterwards, he was fighting against subpar opposition mostly in the division, and the only positive result that he got was either against a shot Molindo or Canizales robbery. That was pretty much, that is actually genuinely being honest. I never, even myself when favoring Inoue, I never bring up Taguchi in these arguments because his resume isn't that great on what he went on to do, because what he went on to do was actually not much.
It's not. He wasn't a superb resume, but I will say that he became a champion, and that was my main point. And he became a Ring Magazine champion at one point, so that's just an accolade. Like Inouye beat someone who would go on. It's not like he was trash. Like he went on to do something that was significant, right? Being a Ring Magazine champion and a top 3 rated fighter isn't easy.
It was arguable that the Ring Magazine shouldn't have even put it up because the guy that he fought for that wasn't actually ranked inside the top 3 himself. That was a bit of a weird one. They only wanted to do it because of commission fees. Someone even said that at the time. It was argued amongst a lot of the little weight aficionados. So going on to achieve that when Ring Magazine pushed it instead of actually doing it by the right context isn't much of an achievement in that context. It's not the same as actually when legitimately by being top 3 in the division, like when Taylor and Prograis fought. But I get it.
Yeah. Now, it's the Ring Magazine. I don't think it's top 2 or top 3 anymore. I think the rule is like someone in the top 4 or 5. It's a little different now.
Okay. Anyway, we go on to what's his name? Adrian Hernandez, long-standing WBC light flow champion.
Yeah.
Who did he beat? Who did he beat to pick up his title?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What?
Who did he beat to pick up his title?
He beat what's with the S?
Nah, bro, I'm just fucking with you. Enjoy your debate.
No,
I'm just fucking with you. No, I am just fucking with you.
Oh, okay.
Adrian Hernandez beat kind of a bum to pick up his title, though. He was like, what? He had like 20 losses.
Gilberto Cabas. Or as I call him,
go.
Gilberto Kebab.
Kebab.
Who's the best win on his resume? Would you like to say intangible?
Adrian Hernandez you're talking about?
Yeah.
Surrey
and Satorn?
Yeah, Surrey and Satorn, actually.
Yeah, and who's Surrey and Satorn's best win?
I actually don't know that one.
What's Surrey and Satorn's best win? It's Adrian Hernandez, right?
Yeah, I mean he beat him prior.
Yeah. So his best win is Adrian Hernandez, but what did he do before Adrian Hernandez?
I don't think he had a title.
No, he didn't. I think that was his first ever world title shot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Everything that he fought for was like Asian Pacific belts and WBC Asian Council belts and all of that stuff. The Thai Superfly titles and everything like that. So he pretty much had a mid-tier kind of career. Even at those weights, he was a mid-tier kind of operator, and that's Adrian Hernandez's best win. Now, everyone else that Adrian Hernandez went on to fight wasn't exactly the best guys around. They weren't top 10 rated opposition. He didn't fight any top 10 opponents. He was a long-standing champion who fought nothing but crap, and then he fought against an elite fighter and got fucking annihilated. But let's continue on to this beautiful resume of Naoya Inoue, right?
Yeah, okay. I just want to mention also after he lost to Adrian Hernandez, he became a champion again. So I wouldn't say he was like a bum, but
I think
he kind of downplayed his resume a little, I would say.
I think his next good victory is Kohei Kono, and I think Kohei Kono beat.
No, he has another win before that. It's Omar Andres.
Okay.
I'd say Omar Andres was his next win because Omar Andres was a top 3 and he was a WBC champion.
Top 3 where?
In the Ring Magazine rankings.
On what date?
Prior, like a couple years before.
I'm just wondering when he was top 3. I thought he only made it to number 5 in the rankings on Ring. You sure it wasn't TRBR?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Ring Magazine. I can check right now though. I have the link to the annual ratings.
Okay.
And he had beaten him in no. He beat him in 2014, so I'm gonna check like 2012 and after. This was in the this was in the super flyweight division, so that would place him.
And who are we talking about right now?
He was actually number.
Who are we talking about right now? Which fighter are we talking
Omar
about?
Andres Narvaez.
Oh, Omar Narvaez. Okay, I thought.
Yeah, Omar Narvaez.
Hernandez. I didn't realize that we had skipped past Hernandez and gone up to Basapian and fucking Narvaez. Yeah, no, Narvaez is Teflon. You didn't even mention enough stats on Narvaez, right? Yes, he was top 3 rated. He was the longest standing champion in the division, and he holds the tied most amount of defenses in the alphabet era. So we can skip past that Narvaez. That's his best win to date so far on this resume.
Yeah, Narvaez, though, I'm going to be honest, he has a lot of defenses, but he doesn't really have a lot of great wins. His resume is kind of questionable.
I agree with you, by the way. Do you want to break it down? Do you want to help me in this debate, Intangible?
I mean, me personally, I saw Narvaez, I think he had like 3 top 10 victories during his 115-pound WBO reign. I think that's what I've seen so far.
Look, I'll put it like this: Omar Narvaez's resume is not very good, but he has a whole lot of numbers.
Yeah,
that's what it is. He's got a very poor resume with a whole lot of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, he defended his title numerous times against multiple people.
Would you like to tell me how many title defenses he made?
Narvaez?
Yeah.
8.
No, he made 14.
No, I'm talking in total.
He made 8, didn't he?
I'm talking in total.
Oh, in total. Oh. I can check right now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
27. Yes, he's tied with Chavez for the most.
He's tied with Chavez.
Oh wow! But the quality of competition, like I'm saying, it's not really there. But it wasn't like, he's still a top-rated fighter, and he's the WBO champion. He knocked him out in the 2nd round. After that would be after Narvaez, I'd have to say Kohei Kono. That was his next big win afterwards.
Okay. Right, so you want to skip past David Carbona, Warlito Paredes, and you want to go to Kohei Kono. Okay.
Yeah.
Kohei Kameda.
What was that, Intangible?
Kohei Kono's best win is Kohei Kameda.
Yeah, and that's our Superfly.
Yeah, that's our division. I mean, we're at Superfly.
Yeah,
so.
we are. But go ahead, explain Kohei Kono to me. Break him down.
I said he was top 10. He was the WBA champion right before he fought Inoue. He had lost to Luis Concepcion.
Okay.
And I like Concepcion, so I mean, I wouldn't really downplay him over that. Although he has a lot of losses on his record, I don't think he's a bad fighter.
Is this the same Luis Concepcion who lost to Calify?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest though, Kohei Kono, you can't just discredit him for losing to Jason Maloney, who is in fact the GOAT.
What's up, Naoya? How you doing?
Yo.
Saturn.
What's good?
What's good? I don't think Smoke's here right now for whatever reason. I don't know.
This is bullshit, man.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
No, hold on a sec. Hold on.
I don't know how my audio is, but I'm still like sort of working on my.
Before anyone does anything, now that I'm trolling, right? I'm just doing it for debate.
I only got a couple minutes, man. Here's the thing: Ryoichi Taguchi, Naoya Inoue beat him when he was just the Japanese champion. He went on to become the unified champion. What unified champion says Errol Spence beat? That's first of all. Secondly, he went up 2 weight classes, bodied Armand Narvaez. Mikey Garcia moves up 2 weight classes, goes to decision with Errol Spence. That's the beginning of the fucking end of this. So I'm out.
Well,
I get that he beat him before he became a unified champion. I don't know how that equals Spence needs to beat a unified champion.
He's already gone, Smoke. He's already gone.
Yeah,
right. So I know he made his point. But all this whole thing, I feel like there's flattened the divisions. Like all divisions are equal, and that's just not the case.
I don't really agree with the notion that all of these wins in these divisions are somehow so much less than Spence that his, I mean, who'd he be, right? Chris Algieri, who was he ever a champion at welterweight?
But that's a separate issue. I'm just saying the notion that the notion that all divisions are equal, is to me on its face not accurate.
Well, aren't we waiting pound for pound? Inouye's opponents and their resumes. We're not actually arguing. Just
how on earth am I supposed to have a debate? I'm not trying to be doing that.
That's what I'm saying. And
wait, Smoke. Do you want to debate them on the Inouye Spence so I can go and have a shit?
Oh no, go ahead. You guys are doing fine. I just think that in this whole explanation of divisions, and he did 3 and 4 divisions, as if all divisions are exactly the same. So if you beat a guy at minimum weight, it's the equivalent if you beat a guy at welterweight. Not all divisions are the same. They're like the level of competition isn't there. It's just on its face. I think there needs to be an understanding that not all divisions are equal.
I get that, but you don't want to give them you don't want to help them out in this argument because, I'm not going to say this in the wrong way. You'll help them out by saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because but yes, you were right. But if you take 4 weight divisions and compare it to just 1, that's different.
Yeah, but I get it. There's 4 weight divisions, but if you start, even the jump between weights, all of them. Even the level of competition is one aspect of it, but actually even moving up in weight isn't the same amount of weight in each division, right? So if you move up 3 pounds, right, like that's generally like how much guys weigh in between.
It's still moving up.
Yes, and
I know it's still moving up. I get it, but it's not equal. I get the fact that it's moving up, but that is the only way that it's
comparing
equal.
It to actually moved up. God, bro, come on, calm down, bro. Calm down. I've got like these really bit loud headphones on. You get too excited. Come on. Think of it like this.
I don't have volume control on my thing, so I can't tell.
Listen, when their argument is a guy in one division, right? When you're arguing one guy in one division who's only been in one division and they've got an entire plethora of talent to choose from, an entire pool across 3 different weight divisions, it doesn't matter when that guy is only in one weight division that they have a smaller leap than that guy when that guy doesn't have any leap at all in terms of his talent going out of his division when he never has. It doesn't
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I understand that, and that's their argument. But what I'm saying is, regardless of their argument, all divisions aren't equal. So even if you're moving up from one trash division with nobody in it to another trash division with nobody in it, that doesn't mean that not because you've simply moved up, you are now better than the guy who's facing a division full of killers.
Yeah, so the issue there is that you've made the irrational and no base assumption that these divisions are trash. And if you want to talk about
I didn't say that those.
Hold up, Smoke. Hold up, please.
I want to say one thing before you go, IBT. I want to say one thing. I'm not a part of the argument on the side of Spence versus Inouye that Get the Smokes doing. I'm not a part of that. I have a different debate entirely. I'm not part of that debate.
Listen, I'm not saying that Monster had trash divisions. That's not the argument that I'm making. What I'm just pointing out is that all divisions aren't equal.
Hey yo, so how do you guys the debate is pound for pound, right? Do you guys know what pound for pound is? I mean, everybody has their own idea of what pound for pound is, but you're never gonna win a debate if you guys don't know what pound for pound is, and you guys will all agree on it.
Okay,
we haven't defined those terms at all.
Exactly. So I was going over some history right here on pound for pound and back to even to the 1900s and stuff like that. So basically, what they're saying is for their weight, right? Their weight class. How good are they in their weight class? For instance, like an elephant is the strongest animal in the world, right? But pound for pound, the beetle is the strongest. It lives 1,100 times its own weight. So basically, what I think is saying is how unbeatable is that boxer in and around the divisions, right? No, because you guys are breaking down who's a pound for pound better fighter, right? Why should Inouye be on top of Spence? right?
See, right, and just by your analogy, are you going to say that an insect is an animal?
No, what I'm trying to give you an analogy, like an example. I'm giving you an example. So how unbeatable?
That's all I'm saying.
Unbeatable is Spence in his weight class and classes above compared to Inouye. How unbeatable is Inouye in his weight class and above, like the ones that he's been going through.
Okay, and that's you're completely entitled to your criteria on pound for pound.
Yeah, I mean,
That's yours, but nobody else here is agreeing to that.
How do you guys have pound for pound?
Yeah. For the purposes of this discussion, I think it may be helpful that we define those terms. Like, what are we talking about?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if you guys must have not been here, or I don't know what occurred, but I had defined what I consider pound for pound, and I didn't hear anything. And no one else talked about it, so I assumed it was fine. But essentially, it's this idea that no matter what weight class this person would be at, theoretically, if you could crop this person bigger or smaller, that they would be the best among any weight class. And I base it off resume, based on what they've actually done, who they've beaten.
Yeah, how unbeatable are they, right? Basically the same shit.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, if their resume is really good and they've never lost, right, and they're beating everyone in their weight class and they're fighting the best competition and defeating them, then they would be, to an extent, unbeatable or have been unbeaten. Right? No contest today. Or I'm comparing resumes. Is that fine?
Right. So I think that resume is definitely informative. But like I said, for me, it's also closely tied to the 4 criteria of scoring a round, right? And beyond that, I think that there's an idea about the actual skills, your ability to fight your style, how well you've perfected your own style, and also if beyond your own style, have you perfected every other kind of styles that there are? Can you be a pressure fighter? Can you fight outside? Can you fight on the inside? Have you mastered all the ranges, right? So there's that part. It's actually mastery of the craft. For me, also comes into play. And yeah, definitely resume and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I pulled up some stuff right here, and there's a lot of references to pound for pound even before Sugar Ray Leonard. There's
Robinson.
Yeah. I mean, Robinson. My bad. Sugar Ray Robinson. Even before him, there's
Armstrong to Lewis.
Yeah, the earliest there's the earliest verifiable reference. For pound is describing the great battling Nelson in 1906. The Star declares that after his victory against Jimmy Britt, the Dane was regarded as the fighter of the century at his weight, and is believed that he would never backwater or split hairs when required to meet any boxer on a pound for pound basis. That's just like one reference in 1906. There's another one in 1909. This one in the Tacoma Times. It says, when assessing the speed and heavyweight Jim Jeffries, few realize that the paper declares that as big as he is, Jim Jeffries is one of the fastest men in the prize ring, inch for inch and pound for pound. He is the fastest fighter that ever pulled on the padded gloves. So I mean, there's so many references on this. It's going to be hard to debate when there's no real fucking definition.
Yeah, the issue, right? So that's the point about pound for pound. Is it is a list that is made up for by the media to sell you on a fighter, right? So that's really what we were talking about. Is
I agree.
Like selling you on it, but that's basically what it is just about hyping up a guy, right? So that's all it is. So that's what we're doing.
Agree, yeah, because back then the heavyweight division was the main attraction, and all the lighter weights didn't get as much fame. So kind of like a media thing that's going on, so they can give them more coverage. I agree with Smoke.
Yeah.
Okay,
but what does that mean though? Initially, what are they trying to get at? Like how good is this boxer at in or away around his weight class? How unbeatable is he?
Yeah, but basically what they're saying is this is a really great fighter. We don't think he can beat a heavyweight though. He can beat everybody. He has great skills. The problem is he's kind of small.
Yeah, unless you're Sam Langford.
Yeah. So
Sam
we're
Aykroyd
kind of,
fucking guy is crazy. That fool went from fucking lightweight all the way to heavyweight.
yeah. Well, 1 second, guys. I
Yeah,
think.
Joe Gans fought light heavyweights from lightweight, from
Yeah.
137 pounds.
I mean, that's a whole like people, But really quick, I don't want to stray from the conversation. There's a person in backstage named Dean Jefferson. I'm going to let him on for a second. And is it a troll? I mean, I'm not really.
Dean.
Hey, Dean.
Like
Dean
smokes a
Jefferson,
monkey. Smokes a monkey.
Okay, cool. Okay.
All right, so what are we getting at here then? So
Okay.
I mean,
so
what are we gonna? How are we gonna define it then?
We already broke down Inouye's resume.
No, I know,
so
but the thing is, does Smoke agree with your assessment on what pound for pound is? If he
Smoke
agrees,
is-
then you can go from there.
So, was my assessment adequate? Did it make sense? Does it have rationale? Can we use that as a basis of comparing resumes and who they fought?
Yeah, resumes definitely, but what Raider is talking about is also a little bit closer to what I'm talking about. You also have to see about the mastery of the skills. It's not just resume; it's also what they're able to do.
Yeah.
Well,
That's fine. We can do that after, but can we cover resume first? Because that's a factor, right?
Yeah.
And then
I'm down.
Okay.
You guys were chopping it up,
We'll compare their actual skill set after if you want. Like how you feel. But the only issue with skill set that I have is it becomes really objective, and if you and I disagree on something like I think he has better feints, right? Then we don't get anywhere. Like we can just vote basically and
But this whole thing is subjective, right? I mean, when it comes down to it. I mean, if we can agree on stuff, we can agree on stuff. But if not, then we don't, and just keep it pushing.
I mean, I do think that there's a fundamental flaw in ranking off of skills. I mean, there's no way to find an objective. There's no way to bring about an objective argument based on skill set. You just can't do it.
But I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're trying to make an objective argument based on moving up divisions. Like all moving up divisions is not the same thing. Like Mikey Garcia moving up 4 divisions is not the same thing as Monster Inouye moving up 3 divisions. It's not the same thing, even though it's just one more division.
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to mention about Inoue and moving up divisions, I do want to make it clear.
On their resume.
Sorry, go.
Oh, I finished.
No, but to give Mikey credit, he was pound for pound right before he fought Spence.
No, I know it was, but I mean, I rate Mikey. You know me, I rate Mikey, but people don't, and people don't rate the Spence victory over Mikey.
Yeah, I really like Mikey, but I do have to context that he had never fought at welterweight before, and now he's fighting a champion, right? So.
Yeah, and it's not. Listen, I'll say that Mikey on the way up didn't fight a future Hall of Famer, but Donaire in his last 14 fights got 5 losses. There's still levels to it. There's a difference between a great name and the quality of win, right?
Yeah,
and it's the guy who fights on the night. It's not just that it's a future Hall of Famer.
That's why my criteria is how unbeatable are you on all those weight classes. Obviously, the more losses you gone to all these weight classes and you lose a lot. I mean, that's not gonna be good, right? Because you are beatable. But if you're
he got a knockout. He had a terrific fight. He had a terrific fight with Monster. He got a knockout before that, but before the fight before that, it's like the guy was whooping his ass and got injured, right? I mean, and that still doesn't stop him from having 5 losses in his last in fewer than 20 fights.
So put it like Crawford and Spence, right? I mean, Crawford should be a higher on the pound for pound, just because he conquered. He's been more unbeatable in other weight classes, and Spence only in 1. You know what I mean? So should.
So that's what Smoke's talking about. I think Smoke thinks Crawford is above, right? Is that correct? Just really quick.
Yes, Crawford is my number 1 guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So we can agree on that. But he's saying that the jump from light fly to flyweight, he doesn't think that's as significant as someone going from welterweight to junior middleweight, which is very.
Well, I mean, he does have a point, because at the smaller weight classes, it's only 3 pounds of a difference.
Yeah. So I didn't get to finish, and I agree. I'm not saying that. Yeah, all weight jumps are equal, but what you do have to take into context is the proportionality of these fighters and how much they're truly jumping, right? Inoue is not just jumping 2 pounds, 1 pound, 2 pounds, boom. He went from 108 to 115 to 118. So in total, he did 10 different pounds, right?
Okay, so James Toney going from middleweight to like heavyweight then, and like that's still like what, 4 divisions?
Yeah, that's what I would rate like a Canelo 4 pound more than a Mikey Garcia 4 pound, or Terence Crawford 3 pound higher than a Inoue 3 pound. But that's the limitations of the human body coming in.
But even Canelo hasn't done the light heavy to cruiserweight jump.
Yeah, obviously, and that would be one more division, but it's not just, it's 20. It's the greatest jump you can do between, almost even greater than cruiserweight to heavyweight, right? Technically, heavyweight is unlimited, but how many cruiserweights are really way above 230, 240, and stuff like that? DJ, what's up, man?
Yeah.
What's up, IBT? Smoke, Intangible, Raider. What's good?
What's up, D?
You had an impersonator here earlier. I shouldn't have let him on.
Yeah, that was funny. His name was Dean Jefferson.
Dean Jefferson?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's Dillion's brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Okay.
Did he know boxing?
Yeah, could you just let people on that you actually recognize next time? Just to be.
Yeah, no, I asked and I checked and I gave him a shot, but it wasn't. Yeah, it's my bad. I won't do that anymore.
What you ask them, like use your normal profile picture and your name.
Yeah.
I let everybody on.
Yeah. Let IBT put whatever he wants. Obviously somebody's being like stupid or racist, and cut them off.
Yeah, that's why I kicked him off. I mean, that's
exactly. You're just trying to instigate. Get their bit of fame.
Let's stop talking about it. I don't want to put any more attention, please. So let's go on to the Spence resume. Do you want to break that down? I can put up his resume on screen if you'd like, or how do you want to do it?
However, whatever however works.
All right. So do you have it in front of you, or do you want me to put it on screen and we can go from there?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, put it on the screen so for everybody to follow.
All right. Cool.
So what you're gonna go over just quality wins or the whole resume?
I only did ranked wins. I didn't do any
Well, they went fairly in depth into the fighters. I think that the only guy that you guys left off was, in dissecting resume was Nonito Donaire's resume. And I guess we
didn't get all the way into them, to be honest. We stopped around Jamie. We stopped right before Jamie McDonald. He has Juan Carlos Payano, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and Nonito Donaire after. But do you guys see my tab here? Where do you want me to go down to?
Let's just start with the Chris Algieri win because that was the first top 10 rated opponent he beat.
Is that good? Was Chris Algieri top 10 rated?
What is this top 10 rated? That's the issue. Like top 10 rated in the welterweight is not top 10. Is not the same as top 10 rated in the minimum weight.
Perfectly objective.
I don't get it. Like we really need to define our terms because I think we're getting like superficial with this whole thing about like Hall of Famer and divisions and all this stuff. Like we need to break the stuff down.
Phil Greco, do you want me to start Samuel Vargas? Like, you tell me where to start, Smoke. You're the one.
Okay, no, I can't see it. No. I don't mind starting. I don't mind starting with Chris Algieri. That's not the point. We can start with Chris Algieri. Or we can go down. Who did you say before? Phil Greco?
Samuel Vargas.
Samuel Vargas is good too.
Nah.
He's a decent welterweight. He's a decent welterweight.
All right, so where do you want to start?
I love Chris Algieri because, that's like counting Javier Cintron and Kazuto Ioka's resume. Honestly, let's just start with Chris Algieri. Yeah, Chris Algieri was the WBO 140-pound champion. His one fight at 147, he got his ass whipped by Manny Pacquiao. And he lost the fight against Amir Khan, which I personally thought Algieri won. And he was once the WBO 140-pound champion against Ruslan Provodnikov. That's who he beat.
Yeah, so he actually beat Provodnikov by split decision, and then he fought Pacquiao after at welterweight, got whipped, and then he fought Amir Khan, lost a unanimous decision to Intangible, feels he won, fought Eric Bone, and then lost to Errol Spence.
Yeah,
Right?
Ruslan, yeah, and he pretty much had to come from behind against that Ruslan Provodnikov victory because he had that massive swelling in, I think it was like his right eye.
He was down twice in round one, it says right there.
And
So-
Ruslan
so-
Provodnikov, his claim to fame is the Bradley War.
Yeah, the Bradley fight where Bradley pretty much just went on a kamikaze mission.
Yeah, so he beat a guy who was a champion, right? Was Provodnikov a champion? Yeah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So a champion and not welterweight though. And then you have Manny Pacquiao who destroys him, and then Amir Khan beats him in the official, right? This is what this wasn't even a title match. And he beats Errol Spence.
That win is probably
Right, are we still going? Are we going past when the guy fought? Because Naota's point was about what the guy did after the fight.
Yeah, so let's go. He beat Tommy Coyle, right? Is that what you're gonna mention?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
wondering
We're
if I'm
taking the full resume into context.
Okay, cool.
Full resume, as long as it's not like, well, he lost to this guy in his debut. Like I made that.
Well, no, you mentioned it. You mentioned Manny Pacquiao. He got his ass whipped by Manny Pacquiao, but Manny Pacquiao is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, I didn't say
Pacquiao's
he's
a
trash
champion
because
like
he
right
lost
now.
to Pacquiao. No,
Yeah.
I did not say he's trash. I'm just saying he lost to Pacquiao. Like he didn't secure this title. He was in the silver title list, and then he lost to Spence.
I mean, if you want to go by what Ruslan Provodnikov did afterwards, he lost to John Molina and Lucas Matisse. Both fights were very close and were wars. And I don't really know any victory of his after that.
That Matisse fight was like, there were shells of both of themselves. It was just it was still kind of brutal, but not really.
Luis Castillo.
Hey, why are you guys rating the fighters of the fighters they've passed before? Like they fought before.
We're judging the quality of when it was on the night.
Yeah, but shouldn't you rate them on what they were at that night?
Yeah, I mean, we are.
Not like who they fought before.
Yeah, we are. But there's degrees of it, right? So the biggest part of the pie is the fighter they fought at that night. But in order to gauge a view of who that fighter was on the night, they're also taking in consideration what they did later.
Yeah, but it's like Gamboa.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I feel like it should be like something like a 95-5 split, where 95% of the owner it's 95% the guy you faced on the night, and maybe give like a 5% tip of the hat to he did some more shit later.
Yeah, so I do want to make
even
this
that's generous.
I'm not trying to say we need to be like, oh, this is the guy who beat Tommy Coyle and Provodnikov. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm just trying to do is kind of put it into context. Where they were at that win, right? Like, were they a shot fighter? Were they someone past their prime? Were they someone who was still a novice? And when you see he beat Provodnikov a couple years before and he beat Tommy Coyle a little after, it's not like Chris LG was, shot or like past his prime kind of thing. It's just
Chris LG.
I mean, all you probably got to go is their last 3 fights.
Well, here's really the turd in the punch bowl is that Nonito Donaire is actually Monster's best win, and Sean Porter is basically Errol Spence's best win. The difference between those two is Sean Porter's in his prime, and Nonito Donaire is not.
Sean Porter's not in his prime. First of all, Sean Porter's not in his prime. And number 2, out of the 2 fighters of Sean Porter and Nonito Donaire, only one of them were on a consensus number 1 on the pound-for-pound list, and that's Nonito Donaire. And Sean Porter is not in his prime.
Before Sean Porter was even a pro. Like, Sean Porter is in his prime. Like, I don't know why he's coming on here talking about Sean Porter's not in his prime. Since when? Since when has Sean Porter exited his prime?
Against a contender.
Sean Porter is not in his prime, bro.
Since when has Sean Porter left his prime?
Are you kidding me?
Which fight was it that Sean Porter left his prime in?
I mean, Sean Porter is like 30, 31. Probably
he's 32. He's that's fair. I'd say it's fair to say he's in his prime. This era right here is the prime of Sean Porter. Oh, I highlighted the wrong thing. But I don't think that's an insane claim.
The Kell Brook fight.
Kell Brook, he lost. Okay, we can go before. I don't want to break down every single. That's why I didn't want to go in like extra deep, because then we're just going to be like, oh well, he beat Hector Munoz. Like, that's not really important. I just want to highlight on the,
That's what I'm saying. You just go like
that's why I just want to do the context of the win. But I would say it's fine to say he's in his prime. I'm not going to be like he's out of his prime or shot. Porter, for all intents and purposes, is a perfectly capable and fine fighter who was a world champion before Spence beat him. That's fine. But let's not jump the gun. So now we got to go to Leonard Bundu, right?
Bruh.
Knocks out. I mean, yeah.
But Leonard Bundu was all right, but he was definitely not in his prime.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say that.
Can I ask you guys something? Why are we counting Chris Algieri? And I heard somebody mention, what was that guy? Like
Samuel Vargas?
Yeah, like, what are we doing? Like, these are not.
All right, so here's the thing: we're talking about the quality of wins and the quality of the opponent, right?
Yeah,
so when we're talking about just the other day, when we're talking about Loma and Wilder, it came down to how many champions did you fight, right? It came down to stuff like that. So now we're just sticking with that kind of criteria, but just sort of weighing the accomplishments of the fighter.
This doesn't help
on the night, and then mostly on the night, and then also we're taking into some consideration what they were able to accomplish after.
Kell Brook, though, I mean, I'll just break down that victory real quickly. Kell Brook was a world champion and had a great victory against Shawn Porter. However, the rest of his resume is very leaky. His second best.
His resume is trash. Don't be nice about it. It's garbage. This dude, he had a trilogy with the guy that has over almost 100 losses.
Yeah, and his third best one is Lovamore and Du, who was also shot. And those are the three only champions on his entire resume.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the only three champions. Those are the only three champions he beat on his resume. Triple G is on his resume.
Yeah.
All right,
Smoke,
let me get 2 words in, bro. Let me get 2 words in, Smoke. Look, I'm just saying, like, the guys after, to me, like, let's use Kell Brook since we're talking about him, for example. Like, he got beat down by Triple G. He got beat down by Spence. Those 2 fights, like, this dude was not himself after that fight. So why would we take in consideration what they did after? Even slight consideration, because guys can be on their decline after taking bad losses. Like, if they lost the fight, why would we consider what they did after? What they did before, I can understand that, because that's leading up to the fight. But what they did after, to me, is pointless.
Well, that's what people love to do. I mean, that's what they say about Loma and Gary Russell. That's what Naoya just came on and said about some guy beating Japanese. Like, whatever. I'm down with whatever. But what I'll say about the Triple G and what he's done after is Triple G was at middleweight, and what he's done after is at 154. So still, when it comes down to what he did at welterweight, you can still take a look at it and say, okay, yeah, he wasn't able to do a whole lot more, but he's also fighting at higher weight classes.
Yeah, so that's why. So you actually highlighted why I want to look at what they did after. And the issue here is he beat Errol Spence, or he lost to Errol Spence. He beat Shawn Porter, defended against these. I mean, no disrespect, right? But not very, big fighters, notable names. He fights Triple G and gets knocked down the 5th round, and then he fights Errol Spence Jr. So that's why I want to look at what they actually did. Is Errol Spence Jr. beat Kell Brook, yes, but that doesn't paint the whole picture. He beat a Kell Brook coming off of a KO loss to Triple G at middleweight. So he wasn't really in the prime time of his fighting career. And in fact, many people feel that from that fight, from the moment that bell rang to when that fight ended, his prime had been cut short, and he'd now been on the decline, right?
Yeah.
So he took his belt against a man who is now coming off a KO loss at middleweight, which is not really fair to Errol Spence because he deserved the shot, right? But it's very unfortunate for him because one of his top 2 wins, welterweight wins, are a guy coming off a KO loss.
Yeah, the only thing is, in that whole thing, is that he's never lost actually at welterweight to anybody but Errol Spence.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he got his face broken at middleweight.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's at middleweight. So when you judge it, when you judge the quality of a win from a guy at welterweight, he still beat a guy. He still beat a guy who was able to fight actually at welterweight. I mean, at middleweight.
Hold on, IBT. I'm with Smoke on this one because when you're talking about going up 2 fucking weight classes, hell yeah, it matters. That's like it's not supposed to happen. If Kell Brook goes up and beat GGG, it's like an amazing thing because he jumped weight classes and beat a guy like GGG. So, like, I can't, like, to me, I can't put a strike against him for that or anything because he lost to a fucking middleweight coming from 147.
And I'm not trying to discredit Spence like but the issue is that just because this guy weighed 10 like over 10 pounds more, he comes down let's see how many months after, right? He literally had his facial bones
as September, and then like Triple G fight was in September, and Errol Spence was in May.
What you hold Kell or Spence in that manner is that Kell Brook not only did he have facial damage, but he also got stabbed in the leg with a machete, and he's coming down 2 weight classes. Okay.
And so it's just context.
And he's still able to beat guys at 154. So what are we talking about?
That wasn't an issue when you were talking about Jose.
And that's also after he had both of his face broken. So he got his face broken and he got stabbed on his way. He already did when he fought Errol Spence. That's fine.
Who did he beat at 154?
Now he had his other face broken. He had his other part of his face broken. So now he's had both orbital bones broken and stabbed, and the guy's still able to beat people, just not Errol Spence.
No, who did he beat at 154?
Unfortunately, we're talking about Errol Spence.
He didn't beat anybody.
Right, but we're looking at the quality of the win on Errol Spence. That's what I'm just saying. We're just looking at it from all angles.
Okay,
yes,
but
it's not like he showed up with dragging a leg like Jose Benavidez, right? This whole thing about getting stabbed in the leg, we didn't see any evidence of that in the fight.
Yeah, but his whole resume in totality is garbage. Besides one win of Sean Porter, tell me another good win, please.
No. Well, it's only if you talk about resumes in terms of victories.
There you go.
But resumes is not just victories.
No,
yes,
we're talking about.
See, can I just make this point? If you're comparing resumes, right, you need to make a point where the other guy is victory or accomplishment is better than this guy. Like you can't say, well, he lost to so and so. Great accomplishment. That's a loss.
Well, right now we're just chopping. Right now we're just. Yeah, but right now we're not actually comparing Kell Brook to another guy. We're just talking about the quality of win for Errol Spence on the night.
But when we're gonna talk about who they be as a resume, right? I don't want him losing to Triple G to somehow bolster. Like, how does that bolster the win? And I'm not trying to say Kell Brook is not a good win or is a trash win. It doesn't count. I'm not trying to like chip on it until it's nothing. But the context does matter. And the point was whether or not he's undefeated at welterweight or whatever, he got the same human body that fought at middleweight and got his face broken a couple months later. Not a couple, like 2, but several months later, would go on to fight Errol Spence, who was weight drained. His facial bones had fractured, and now he's fighting Errol Spence, who is a live dog, obviously, and he beat him.
It was 8 months. I don't know if that's enough time to recover, or it is. I'm not sure.
What we can say, it wasn't the same injury. He didn't break the same orbital bone, so.
So the way the orbital bone actually works in this case is...
Just let him have it. Just let him have it. It doesn't really do much. I mean...
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain...
I'm saying, like, we're talking about context. All this stuff is just facts, right? We're not... Nothing we're talking about, either you or me or us, we're not talking about anything that isn't a fact.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about...
I agree. I agree with Smoke on this one. You know, the only loss that even though he didn't fight really nobody, the only loss he had was moving up 2 weight classes to fight Triple G, and he came back down and fought Errol Spence, and that's it. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But so the way I'm not trying to debate this so I can like win, right? It's not like I need to win, so I need to discredit it. I'm just, for the sake of this information being on the channel, right? When you break an orbital bone, it's not like if you break your left hand, your right hand's still healthy. It's your part of your face. So once it's been fractured, and especially with such a quick turnaround of 8 months, it's more susceptible for the other side to break as well. And now we can move on to Lamont Peterson if you want.
But it's only more susceptible to break than your face not being broken. But actually, what's more susceptible is the one that actually is already broken.
Well, no, both are more susceptible. That's the whole point.
No, Lamont Peterson.
I don't necessarily agree with that one, IBT, because I actually read something different about that. Well, I don't even really want to go into the orbital bone because I had a debate with someone about that, and I'm just talking about medically. I read something different that doesn't really support what you're saying. It actually more or less supports what Smoke is saying, that the orbital bone that was broken would be at a weakened state. But here's something else that's important real quick, and I ain't even going to dig into it too long. The time factor, 8 months and 9 days was plenty enough time for that thing to heal properly. And that's something that can be proven medically. So
it probably has a good enough time to heal, but not get punched again. You know what I mean? Like on a normal person, that'd be fine. But when you're going back in the ring to get it punched again, probably not.
Yeah, but I'm biased to get that, like Smoke said, that particular side, that particular injury punched again, but 8 months, almost 8.5 months, that other side is not going to be affected from that injury that happened that long ago. And again, bro, like I'll pull up some documents and shit some articles, and this is medical journals I read about that when I was debating somebody on that bullshit because of the whole eye socket excuse that Spence only broke one side because of the other side. That shit's been totally debunked, and I can prove that shit. He broke the other side because he broke the other side. It didn't have anything to do with Triple G breaking down the right side. That's a myth.
Okay, so let's just move on, I guess, do you have something to say on bias?
All right, let's go with Peterson victory. So the Lamont Peterson victory. Lamont Peterson was able to beat Amir Khan, becoming a unified champion at 140. He was also able to beat Kendall Holt. However, Lamont Peterson, moving up to 147, had a controversial loss against Danny Garcia, beat Felix Diaz, went on a long layoff, and then beat David Adepanesian in a fight where people thought David Adepanesian won. And then went on another year layoff and then lost to Spence. This was near the tail end of Lamont Peterson's prime.
Lamont did shit at 147, but take L's and get knocked out.
Yeah.
That's all he did.
And he lost to Lipnitz too.
All right, so we covered that. Is that good? I mean, you get credit for that, but
I'll be right
it's not
back.
like an astounding. Okay,
Lamont Peterson was never the same fighter after he got blown out of the water by Matisse.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like we don't know. Like a fighter at the end of his career is not the same thing as a fighter in his prime. So yes, Nonito Donaire is a Hall of Famer, but Nonito Donaire is also outside years removed from his prime, and he was still able to break Monster Inouye's orbital bones. Speaking of orbital bones.
Yeah.
But Monster still won the fight.
Yeah, so we can go to that later, but we covered Lamont Peterson, and when we mention these guys like Chris Algieri and stuff, we do give them credit, but obviously the credit varies from Chris Algieri to a Kell Brook, and also Campo to a Sean Porter. We can just skip over Campo, right? I mean, he's just a mandatory, wasn't unheralded opponent. Okay, Mikey Garcia, let's break this one down.
It's one of your four, one of the 4 division champions, right? Because we like division champions so much, multi-division champions. Okay. And then also, he beat a couple of guys. He unified at 135. At 140, he got a title off of Lipinets, who's converted kickboxer. Didn't really do shit at 140. But whatever. He still pieced him up, knocked him down, got the belt. And then proceeded to get washed by Errol Spence. You could have given him 1 round in that fight, but you also could have given him a 10-8 round in that fight without getting knocked down.
Yeah. One judge did, right? So I think Mikey's a great fighter. He was pound for pound at the time, so you have to take that into account, right? And obviously it wasn't like he was completely trash at welterweight. I mean, afterwards he was able to beat Jesse Vargas, right? So it's not like it's you don't lose credit, you don't gain a bunch of credit because this was his first time even competing professionally at the welterweight limit. And he was a pound for pound, so that's important as well.
Mikey's best.
Anything else?
Toledo.
And both of the guys that he beat at 140 campaigned at 147.
Yeah, Lipinets, right? And Broner.
And Broner.
Yeah, Lipinets and Broner. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so pretty
probably Salido, but even that has question marks because he quit at the end of the fight. But I mean, Salido's resume pretty much blows everybody else Mikey's faced out of the water in terms of quality victories.
Yeah. Technically, it's Salido, and then Salido beats, right? But for
also,
Mikey,
Juanma Lopez was a good win, and Rocky Martinez.
Yeah, I was gonna say for Mikey Garcia, it's not so much of a astounding singular win. It's a accumulation of multiple wins. Salido, Juan Manuel Lopez, Roman Martinez, Juan Carlos Burgos. No, he was not. He was not ranked at welterweight. Only on BoxRec, but I mean, Vatikanen, Broner, Lipinets, Easter Jr., and then Errol Spence, right? Oh, it's probably. I mean, I'm going through a bunch of stuff. It's all right. Cool. So now that we're here, final win on his resume as of recently, he unifies the belt with Sean Porter, who was 30-2, right? He was the WBC world champion. Sean Porter, I consider Sean Porter a good fighter at welterweight and the top fighter at welterweight personally. It was a very close fight, split decision. Some people had Sean Porter winning, some people had Errol Spence winning. Due to the knockdown, I don't think you can have a draw unless you somehow give Porter a 10-8 round somewhere. Porter's got a really good resume at 147. And it kind of starts out with, let's see, like Julio Diaz, right? I mean, you can say Phil Greco, I guess, but Diaz, is that fair to say?
Yeah, but did he really win that fight, the first fight?
The first fight was a draw.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to start here.
I mean, even then, like, Sean Porter doesn't really have that deep of a resume in terms of wins. He has good fighters on it, but, I mean, Devin Alexander didn't accomplish anything at 147, and the only guy he beat was Randall Bailey, who was way past it. And also he beat Danny Garcia, which was a good victory, but Danny was also past his prime and not in his best weight class.
I don't know about
always a tough win,
we'll give it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he goes Paulie Malignaggi, who's been a world champion before, but he kind of loses to the top guys. He loses a very close fight to Kell Brook, and that's how Kell Brook gets his title. He comes back, beats Eric Bone, has a fight with Adrian Broner, where he gets chopped in 12. Has a very competitive close fight with Keith Thurman, but he loses 7-5 on every scorecard. Then he beats Andre Berto, Adrian Granados, who's like, journeyman level, but he's a tough fighter. He beats Danny Garcia to get the WBC title, beats Yordini Sugas in a close fight, and then loses to Spence in a close fight. So no one's really blown Sean Porter out of the water, and Sean Porter has some good names and wins on his resume, but I mean, arguably the biggest name would be Keith Thurman or Spence, and he lost those, right? I mean, even Brook, but Brook is almost big because he beat Porter, so I'm not really going to count that.
Yeah, he's also been dropped by Spence and Broner.
Hold on real quickly. L-Dub told me Alexander beat Juan Arango. He beat them at 140. I mean, wins at 147.
Yeah, we're trying to talk about the work at welterweight. Otherwise, I mean, we could give him credit for beating.
It's really just resumes, right? I mean, but we can say the name is on there and then just make the distinction.
Well, because Errol Spence didn't move up. We're just talking about his opponents at welterweight where he faced them. You know what I mean?
No, I know. I'm saying both things are facts, right? We can just say what the facts are. The guy he beat the guy, and it wasn't at welterweight.
Yeah, but what point? I mean, what does that really do?
It's because this is a pound for pound list. We're talking about. We're still talking about skills, right? It's not like 140 is a slouch division. It's not like 140 doesn't have legitimate guys in there. It's not like that's not a legitimate fight. It just wasn't at welterweight. Sean Porter beat a capable fighter, but the guy's best weight just wasn't at welterweight.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's why we're just highlighting the context, right?
Yeah, his best weight wasn't at welterweight, and that's where he fought him. So, yeah.
Never mind. Okay, Sean Porter was a top 3 welterweight at some point. He's like 3-4, and then 5, and then 3-4. Like he kind of bounces around. So I think that's easily his best win, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, we started there. Yeah, but Porter's definitely his best win. You know, and
Right.
and I would say Garcia is probably Porter's best win. He did get in there where, he beat up Paulie. But everybody kind of beats up Paulie. Where Paulie got robbed a couple times too. I feel like he not robbed, but didn't get the nod when he should have. I think he should have got the nod.
He's getting punished.
Yeah, that Hatton fight was gross.
Yeah, that guy's a clown. Okay,
but
so
he got Castillo.
Yeah, and then one thing I wanted to. Yeah. It's one thing to talk about for the Nonito Donaire being
that's your boy, Iron Cone.
Giving Nonito Donaire he's past his prime, and I would certainly agree. I don't think that was the best Nonito Donaire ever, but you do have to take into the context, since you want to talk about Kell Brook never losing at welterweight before Spence. When was the last time he lost at bantamweight? Because he'd lost to Carl Frampton and what was his name? Magdaleno. Sorry. But who did he lose to at bantamweight that would make him bad, right?
And also, Omar Narvaez never lost at 115 before he fought Inouye. His last loss came at flyweight against Nonito Donaire, and he went well with him.
Yeah, and this notion that the wins that he has are inferior because we don't know the name, or not we, but some people don't know the names, and they're lighter and they're not that's not really valid in my opinion. If you want to look at how many champions or former champions or future champions he's beaten, it's 8. He's 14-0 in his title fights. Obviously, he's undefeated, right?
Yeah, but champion is only speaks here. But champion is just like divisions is on a curve, right? Like it's not just because you get an A in the class doesn't mean you actually know how to spell. It just means that you are the best student in a class of people who don't know how to spell, right?
Yeah, but also smoke. Just because somebody is not known doesn't mean they're not a good fighter neither.
No, definitely not. I'm just saying that to dismiss Chris Algieri because his best work was done at 140 and he got his ass whooped by Manny Pacquiao. That's Manny Pacquiao. I mean, who are these other guys? I got it. He got his ass whooped by Manny Pacquiao. That's a lot better than getting your ass whooped by whoever the fuck that other dude got his ass. These other guys got their ass whooped by.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that no. It wasn't at 118. It was that fight was at super flyweight. But that is a fighter that he beat on his resume. I'm responding to a comment in the chat right now.
When your best win is against a guy who you have to come from behind against in a close decision, and a guy who's a C-level fighter like Provodnikov, I mean, it's still questionable, and that's Chris Algieri by far his best win.
C-level fighters, Provodnikov. I think that's harsh about Provodnikov. I think he may have some skill deficiencies, but what he does in the ring makes him top level. He was an elite fighter because of what he brought to the table. Sure, he had deficiencies, but
he had
a defense.
Mauricio Herrera.
He was blocking punches.
I got it, but those are straight wars. Like what you had to do to beat that guy, it took the likes of Bradley.
Yeah, but he just came. I mean, he went through wars with Bradley, bro. Like he was not the same.
No, I get you.
And Matisse just finished him off. Like he was completely done after Matisse, but he wasn't far from being done when he fought Algieri, and he was beating on it, Algieri. So I think that's the point I think Intangible's trying to make, maybe.
Right, but I'm just saying I get that that's the point, but to call a guy a C-level fighter, C-level, really?
I disagree with that personally. I don't think
he was a B- level.
Yeah, we can't say he's a. If
he was
A
level,
if he said he's an A level, we're lying. Let's be honest. If we say he's A or B,
I'm saying that he was able to produce some A-level fighter. He was able to produce an A-level fight out of an A-level fighter.
Yeah, Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a C-level fighter. I think that's a little harsh. I mean, I'm gonna give him his proper credit, but if you want, like you mentioned, you're trying to make Kell Brook. I'm not saying you purposely or maliciously, but Kell Brook is a good win because he was a champion, obviously, and he also had never lost at welterweight before Errol Spence, despite him coming down 2 weight classes and had his orbital bone broken on one side, right? So he's not top condition, but it's still a champion. When was the last time that Nonito Donaire had lost at bantamweight?
Maybe Rigondeaux.
I don't know. Probably, I mean, the dude is a gazillion years old. He's been boxing like 20 years. Like, who knows?
Yeah, so
like, he's old as shit.
Rigondeaux was super bantamweight. So my point is he's an excellent fighter. He's a Hall of Famer, and he was a world champion, right? And he defended his title as well, and he won by KO. And Inouye is a good fighter, and he didn't win, but he showed he was at least, he still had it in him to fight. So this thing where he's like old and it doesn't matter, it's like if you wouldn't give someone credit for beating Pacquiao. Yeah, Pacquiao's past his prime. You wouldn't give him the same credit you would someone like Marquez, right? But you still get a significant amount of credit because they're a current world champion, a former world champion, a multiple division world champion, in the future, likely, unless he gets screwed over somehow, a Hall of Famer.
Right. I mean, I hear you, but how much credit do we give Jeff Horn? The simple fact is the dude can't fight.
The issue with that one is that's a controversial, highly contested loss for Pacquiao, or victory for Jeff Horn, right? No one said, you know what, I think Nonito Donaire was robbed. Or I think Nonito Donaire, he artificially got his championship. Like, that's not really...
No, really the issue is, if Nonito Donaire was in his prime, would he have beat Monster? And probably everyone says yes.
It's possible, but even Inouye is not even in his prime. So it's old line versus young line.
He was actually winning the rounds. Yes, Donaire caught him with some good stuff, but he was winning the rounds like altogether.
Yeah, he was outboxing him.
Like Donaire won about 2 rounds.
The issue is, so those hands that that Monster was eating, those would have been, if those were Nonito's prime hands, he would have been able to do it. Like, he broke his bones with old hands.
Whoa.
Power doesn't.
Power's the last thing to leave.
Smoke. Yeah.
No, but wait a minute. Speed equals power. Speed also.
Let somebody else. Okay, dog. Let somebody else talk. Smoke. I get you, and I agree with that too. The faster them punches go, that does add to the power. But the base, the main power, and every fighter in fucking boxing and MMA tell you this shit, is the very last thing to go. Also, people keep talking about Nonito Donaire in his prime, but let's be honest about Nonito Donaire. Yes, he has lost a step or two, but that's it. Maybe a step or two. This motherfucker been sharp and good the whole time. Just like Manny Pacquiao is still good. We want that he turns old. I have to somewhat put Nonito Donaire in that category too. Like, what day is going to come when
Was it me or D breaking up?
Yeah, I thought I was lagging for a second. D, you cut out, mate.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say about Nonito Donaire is, once he started losing, he didn't stop. I feel like he was gifted the opportunity to fight Monster in the first place because the guy who should have been there just got injured. But yeah, it was a good fight and it's a good win. But yeah, trying to say that win propels him somehow over what Errol Spence was able to do against Sean Porter, just because one guy was a pound for pound guy a gazillion years ago.
It's not, I didn't even mention that he was pound for pound.
IBT or Smoke.
No, somebody did.
Hold on.
Other people did. IBT.
Well,
not just you.
He has another chance. He's going to fight Obali. So if he beats Obali, then what you're saying doesn't matter.
If he doesn't beat Obali, then what I'm saying is exactly the point.
We'll have to see.
That could go either two ways, in my opinion. Either Obali outboxes him or Donaire knocks him out. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. But
I'll be back, bro. I gotta make my right.
That's cool, D. Yeah, let me know in the chat and I'll add you in. But the whole point.
Hey, where's Raider at? Did Raider leave us?
No, he's right there.
No, I'm
I
right
mean,
here.
okay.
No, but you should guys can do that. Nonito Donaire, if he wins his next fight, Rizzo Bali, then everything Smoke says, if he doesn't win, then everything Smoke says is credit, And if he does win, it's no credit. I shouldn't take away credit just because of one fight from the future.
Yeah, it's like if let's say if Terrence Crawford, slept Manny Pacquiao in 2017, then Manny Pacquiao goes on to beat Keith Thurman, and Terrence Crawford would then get more credit for his win because even though Manny is past his prime, he still had enough in his tank to beat another champion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's the point I make when I say that he was the world champion at the point that Inouye beat him, and he hadn't lost at bantamweight, if you want to say, in many years. And the only loss before that was against Frampton, right, and Malgaleno. And he was even having success at super bantamweight. So I don't think it's really fair to say that he's a million years old. He's 37, and he had a championship. He had a good fight. He lost. He's a future Hall of Famer, though. And this idea that a Sean Porter life and death victory is going to be better than a Donaire Inoue victory because he's a welterweight, I don't agree fundamentally.
Bro, how old is Monster? 22? 23? There's like
27.
Okay, so there's a decade between those two guys. How old is Sean Porter and how old is Errol Spence? There's like 2 years 29. Between those two guys. Like, what are we talking about?
What do you mean?
I'm saying Nonito Donaire is a completely generation of fighter. Like, he actually is from an entirely different generation. If that doesn't matter to you, then I guess it doesn't matter to you. But I'm just saying that even if you beat Manny Pacquiao today, you're beating old Manny Pacquiao.
Exactly. Yeah, and didn't we already talk about how, like, I'm not giving him the same credit I would give Rigondeaux for beating Donaire, even though Donaire was moving up
you
to
said
that
all
fight.
that, and then you ended up with there's not that big a difference.
Yeah, sorry, I was just dealing with the chat, but the main issue is that it's not like Donaire was washed or that he was trash or he'd come off a losing streak. He was a world champion. He was a world champion. He decisively defeated a world champion, a future Hall of Famer. And yes, he's past his prime, so I'm not giving him the same credit I give as Rigondeaux for beating him.
But how did he get that championship?
Well, hold up.
Yeah, go ahead.
He beat Ryan Burnett because Burnett injured his back.
Right. But
then he defended against Stephen Young. Right?
Yeah, Stephen Young. I mean, are we like what quality of win are we placing that? Are we saying that like Nonito Donaire is not washed because he was able to knock out Stephen Young?
No, I'm not just saying Stephen Young is a fantastic win, but you can also see based off the Inoue fight, clearly this guy has it in him, right? Would you say he didn't? Are you going to say that he didn't look like he was a good fighter? He didn't look like he had turned back the clock?
No. What all right. So so let's back this up. Let's back this train up. So we started this whole conversation with if you say that their resumes are comparable, or Errol Spence should be ahead of Monster Inoue in a pound for pound, then you lack intelligence, right? So that's what the opening salvo to this whole thing was.
No,
right?
intangible.
No, yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I didn't say that.
Right.
And I don't think.
So right. Okay. Great. All right. So awesome. So what I've heard about so far from Monsters on Monster side was a bunch of champions, right? That's what the issue is, champions, right? But then when you delve into how these guys actually got their championships and who they were against, then the idea that it's or how many divisions he went up. When you actually analyze all of this stuff, you take away the jargon and the power words, and you start to analyze it. You start to see, well, to me, I don't see there's something beyond there's something beyond just the resume that you have to go on when it comes to creating a pound for pound list between these two guys specifically.
So since you want to talk about all the supposed jargon that I'm putting in, if you go deeper into who these guys actually beat, do you know who these guys beat?
Well, that's what we've been doing. That's what exactly what we've been doing.
I'm asking you because in your opinion, you've already came, before you even entered this panel, you came with the opinion that Errol Spence Jr. is above, it should be rated above Inouye, who has actually moved up in weight, I believe 10 pounds, right? Spence moved up in weight 0 pounds.
knocking
So it
everybody
doesn't
out.
matter the significance of 9 or 3 pounds. He moved up in weight 10 pounds. I wouldn't say that's a little, right? That's a significant amount. That's more than super lightweight.
It's a good jump. It's a good jump for a weight class. But he did it. But his jump is for 3.
That's not one. What weight class is there where it's 10? It's like light heavyweight to cruiserweight, and cruiserweight to heavyweight. That's it. So 10 isn't insignificant by any means.
7 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, right. So the rest are like 6 and 7.
To move up in weight when you're 5'9" and you're a westernized citizen, and when you're 5'5", okay, it's about body percentage and things like that. It's not the same moving up 3 pounds as a light flyweight.
Hey, Tangi, you got all those old school guys. I mean, you know what Joe Walcott did. You know what Sam Langford did. You know what these little dudes were able to do. They weren't tall. Anyway, but that's cool. That's a different thing. That's a different subject for another day.
So if you're going to be talking about that, it's like a little fugazi or this jargon that I'm putting these top 10, top 3 wins.
I'm not saying.
Wait,
no,
hold up, please. They're champions, right? You're saying, well, how did they really become champions, or who did they beat to become champions? You had this notion before you came into the panel that Errol Spence Jr. was above Inoue. So tell me.
Yeah, but I also have a different metric than just resume. I have a different metric than just resume. You guys are just focusing on resume. The reason why I came to my conclusion is it has nothing to do with what the hell we're talking about right now. I mean, not a whole lot to do with it. It has something to do with it, but not a whole lot, actually.
Okay, so you're saying that Inouye has a better resume or a more significant?
No, I'm saying that their resumes are sorry. I'm saying that their resumes to me are kind of a wash.
A wash? What can you like? What is the actual measurement you're going to be using?
Level of competition.
Can you break?
Yeah, so we already broke down the resumes, which is the level of competition, correct?
No, actually, level of competition is what happens in the fight and the fighter and the caliber of fighter, not actually because he was a champion and because he won.
Isn't that what a resume is? What you just said? What happened in the fight? Level
of competition is what version of the fighter you had in front of you that night. What was that guy able to do? That is a level of competition.
So if you're going to be talking about the level of competition, then saying Nonito Donaire is past his prime and old, even though he performed excellently against Inoue, it's kind of a contradictory statement there.
Not really, because I don't rate it anyway. That's why I don't think he should be top 5 pound for pound. You just got it.
You have him 10.
Bing, bing, bing.
You have him at 10?
Top 10. No, top 10, definitely. Top 10, fine. I have no problem with top 10. But this whole thing was about being top 5.
If you could for the sake of this, it was top 5 and over the other, right? I say Inoue is over Spence because I think Spence has only done work in one weight class, and he's always and he's only had. And I don't mean to say this in a bad way because some people are just career, like Triple G's a career middleweight, and that's fine. But if you're going to be talking about pound for pound, the reason people called him pound for pound is because of his long reign. And Spence hasn't had this long reign or marquee victory or Hall of Fame victory, and it seems like he's been almost exasperated to a sense of being top 5. I don't really see the work that is there doesn't seem top 5 caliber to me.
Right, I'm saying it. Then I say the same thing for Monster. Monster just beat Donaire. How does beating Nonito Donaire propel you in front of Errol Spence?
But what about the opponents he faced before that?
Yeah, that's what
right. You take those opponents off of those things. I still don't see how it propels you in front of Errol Spence.
And him having moved up, what you say, one weight class, even though he still moved up and he leaped over a division, and he was able to get the wins that Spence has in your eyes that he was able to do in multiple weight classes and more often.
Top 5.
Okay, here's the thing: if you gain 10 pounds, right? Let's say you go from junior junior welterweight to actual welterweight, and you gain 10 pounds, right? Well, you're at like 150, right? That's small. That is actually small. That is not good enough to get to 154. That's my point to you. It's 10 pounds. 10 pounds is good for one weight class. That's it. It's not good for 2 weight classes. It's good for 1 weight class. But for Monster, it's good for 3. But besides that entire thing, like we can talk about that. We can talk about that.
Let me just say this. So
hold on. I'm not done. You will say it. Just hold on. Let me wrap my point up in a bow. I am not necessarily even hating on the fact that he moves up. All I'm saying is it's not all equal. right? And then also, when we're talking about this entire resume thing, for me, it is about level of competition. When you talk about pound for pound, there's actually skills that come into play. You look at how complete the fighter is.
Okay, so I just wanted to say this. So you're nitpicking Inoue for the amount of weight that he moved up, but the guy you're defending has not moved up at all.
And it's in fact
correct, because where he is full of killers. Where he is full of killers. Up and down the roster, killer.
It's not full of killers.
Okay, I get you. I hear you. Listen, if you say you tell me which one, is the easy touch. We talk about the welterweights. You tell me.
Let me finish.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm biased. I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, Donaire is a knockout artist. So if you technically want to talk about the killers, Donaire would be one of them. And now on top of that, Payano also has a good knockout ratio going on there. There's a lot of guys in that division that get KOs versus Danny going 12 with Red Catch. Thurman hasn't knocked anybody out in I don't know how many years. Sean Porter is not a knockout artist. So the killers you're talking about, they just don't exist. Like the guys you're talking about, they're going full 12.
Okay, I think I now need to define what I mean by killer. And really what I meant by, you tell me, you go to you pick whatever division you want, right? And even you can pick up his best anyway, pick any division you want. And tell me that division is deeper than welterweight. Tell me like 1 through 10 that which division that Monster has competed in that is comparable to welterweight.
So the funny thing is that he isn't just competing in one weight class, and that's the great thing about that. Is he has multiple weight classes to choose from where there's far more competition. And just because they might not all, I'm not saying that light flyweight is better than welterweight, but if you combine light flyweight, super flyweight, and bantamweight, I'm willing to say that. I mean, Danny Garcia is like number 7, and I feel, Ivan Redkach, he's going all 12 with Ivan Redkach. You wouldn't really see an Ivan Redkach caliber of fighter go all 12 with any of the top fighters in those weight classes.
They would get knocked out.
My God, dude! Like Stephen Rose is not an Ivan Redkach guy. Like he's not even that good.
Who's Stephen Rose?
Stephen Rose, not even not Stephen Rose. Sorry, Stephen Young.
He got knocked out by Donaire.
Yeah, he got knocked out, so he didn't go.
I know. That's what I get you. I got it because he's worse.
We're talking.
What do you
mean? Wait, it's like saying Deontay Wilder, right? He knocked out all those guys, but you say all the guys are bums. So what are we talking about?
Hold on, Payano, right? He beat Rasheed Warren, right? Red Catch beat he
also lost to Rasheed. He also lost to Rasheed Warren.
Yeah, he did.
He also lost to Rasheed Warren, and Rasheed Warren is like, whatever. They went back and forth. Whatever. It's cool. But who did he fight before and after Rasheed Warren? Like, fucking nobody. That's what I'm saying. Whatever. It's all good. It's all good.
Mary and Inouye. What are you talking about?
He lost.
In between that, he beat a prospect that was actually supposed to be, an up and coming Damian Vasquez. They put him in there.
He lost.
Payano, and he beat him convincingly.
In my opinion, Neri was losing the fight against Payano until Neri got a body shot.
I disagree, but I mean that's just like that's just personal scoring. But the point is that you're saying who did he fight after he fought Warren? He lost the belt in the second fight, not the first fight, right? The reason they had a rematch was because the first fight was close and it was a split decision. So the way you're downplaying who he fought, we can do the same thing, but I wasn't able to do that because Kell Brooks undefeated at welterweight, and Chris Algieri, he did great at 140. So you have to keep the same. I mean, if you're going to really nitpick like this badly over Inouye's resume,
I'm not.
Hold up, please. And it becomes much worse for Spence and the whole welterweight division as a total because these guys are. It's a glamour division in terms of money and attraction, but it's not really.
It's not just a glamour.
It's not.
You're making several points. I'm trying.
Okay.
But you're on me about my points, and it's not really what my points though. Like you're saying that I'm nitpicking too much, but I mean, I'm trying to create a standard, right? And I'm trying to create a standard that we can measure these guys by, not just nitpicking any particular direction. I'm just saying, if you look at the welterweight division, those guys have a lot more, like it is actually a stacked division. Like if you look at Sean Porter and who he had to fight, if you look at Danny Garcia and who he had to fight, if you look at Manny Pacquiao and who he had to fight, look at Chris Algieri, like it is a different thing than saying like, oh yeah, there's two guys in there versus 10 guys that you have to fight.
No, but look, the welterweight division's top heavy, and that's pretty much it. Like let's keep it real.
But the top goes all the way through to 8 people.
No, the top goes to like 5 or 6.
It's Manny, Thurman, Crawford.
Let me list the current list right now. Errol Spence, Crawford, Pacquiao, Thurman, Porter, Garcia, Yordenis Ugas, Abdulkadirov, Lipinets, and Cav Velasquez.
Right. So after you said Porter, that's where the list just finishes. Because
I mean, like, you can argue Garcia, you can argue Ugas, but Abdulkadirov, Lipinets, Cav Velasquez.
Yeah, he said Manny.
Yeah, I said Manny.
All right, and how many people was that?
So again, it's top.
That was 5 or 6.
But that wasn't 5 or 6. Because there's 3 with belts. There's 3 people with belts, right? So we got the 3 people with belts, and then guys without belts, right?
Yeah, but
Ugas,
you can't count all those 8 people because Errol Spence hasn't fought them.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the division. I'm not talking about it. Listen, I'm literally right now just comparing division to division, talking about divisions. Right, that's it, and it's not about Spence. It's not about Monster. It is just about the divisions that they fight they're in.
Okay, so how many fighters how many top fighters has Errol Spence fought in his division?
Right, but that's a separate argument. We haven't even got to the division part of it yet. We haven't got to the division comparison. We're gonna get back to the Errol Spence versus Monster, right? But we haven't even got to like how do you actually compare one division to the next.
Well, this is the issue though that you're having is you're saying one division's a tougher division, but the guy you're defending hasn't even fought the tough competition in that division.
That's what I'm.
No, the problem I'm facing is that when I'm trying to talk about the division, you guys keep talking about Errol Spence. I'm not talking about Errol Spence. Forget Errol Spence right now. Forget the comparison between Errol Spence and Monster. Let's just talk about how do you compare one division to another.
Well,
okay, by fighting the top at the division.
IBT just named off all the guys, and that proves that welterweight is just top heavy. Because once you finish with Porter, you get into the Ugases and the Akabakadovs and the Lipinets.
Abdulkadirov. What do you mean? You don't know Kudratio Abdulkadirov?
No, I just don't know how to say it.
But wait a minute. But Ugas, how do you? But Ugas was by in a lot of people's mind the winner against Porter.
Yeah, so Smoke, I actually said I'm cool going. I said I'm cool going to 7. I said I'm down to do Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. I'm including Danny Garcia and Yordenis Ugas. And I feel like Abdulkadirov, Lipinets, and Cav Velasquez are not on that level. I don't feel like they're on the level. Right? I feel like it's not that Ugas.
I mean,
cool.
Really,
so fine. So we'll say that those are the top 7 other guys, and you can round it out with 3 other guys, but they aren't anywhere near as accomplished or as skilled as those other 7 guys.
They're B-level fighters. Everyone else is A-level.
You can get a top 10. Like we can do a top 10, right?
Is not accomplished neither, bro.
Yeah, so Ugas is good, but well, that was at 140. I'm gonna say he went like 15-3 at 140. I actually rate him much higher at 147.
Motherfucker was getting beat by what's that Dominican dude? I forget his name. The one that Bud stopped in 5 rounds. That dude.
I know he put it on Omar Figueroa. Gave him his first L.
Felix Diaz.
No. Ah, shit. Yeah,
Yordenis Ugas to me is like the cutoff point because he was competitive with the world champion, and some felt he should have won. So if you want to go in the top order, it goes Unified Champion, former champion, title contender, right? Former challenger.
Delorme. There you go. Delorme was whooping on that dude Ugas. Dropped him, I think, like twice. He was beating
that was a tough fight. I watched that one. That was a tough fight. So now let me list the top 7 of the divisions that Inoue competed in, and then we can pick the best ones from there. And these are the caliber of fighters that he could have fought or you understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just saying that the division. We're just taking a snapshot of the divisions, right?
So that's bantamweight, super flyweight, and junior flyweight. Because he actually skipped over flyweight. He technically did not compete there, I don't believe. Right? Mm-hmm. Is that fine?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
okay,
yep.
so
that what?
Junior flyweight, junior flyweight, super flyweight and bantamweight. He skipped over flyweight. Is that you get it right?
Yeah, he did.
All right. So the current Ring Magazine champion is Hirota Kikuchi, then Kenshiro, Heki Butler, Carlos Canizales, Felix Alvarado, Owen Soto, and Tetsuya Hisada. That's the top 7 of junior flyweight. Junior bantamweight is Juan Francisco and Estrada. Wrong beside Dani Nietes, Kazuto Ioka, Kalinka Pride, Duran Ancajas, and Roman Gonzalez is a former pound for pound. And then for bantamweight, not including Inoue, Benito Donaire, Ubali, Casimiro, Rodriguez, Tete, Molani, and Cuadras.
It's over.
That's better competition than the welterweights you just mentioned. There were several pound for pound stars in that actual list that I mentioned. So
here's the thing. The issue is we need to come up with a metric that works along the board, across the board, that doesn't have anything to do with fighters, and actually referencing another pound for pound list to add these guys to a pound for pound list, to me is I don't know. You're using a word to define a word. Like, we need to come up with a metric for our own pound for pound list in this thing, and then also compare these divisions and not just say 4 guys equals better competition than 7. Since we're talking about division to division, you mentioned 7 guys in welterweight and then mentioned 4 in bantamweight and say it's not even close.
Smoke, you just confused the hell out of me because you said we need to compare the divisions.
No, like you said, like literally the definition of why these guys were better definite. You said the reason why they were better competition was because they're on somebody else's pound for pound list. Meanwhile, we're trying to compile our own pound for pound list.
No, we're talking. I was talking about the ring, because this is the ratings from the Ring Magazine. This is the Errol Spence should be top 10. This is the whole thing I'm basing this off, is the Ring Magazine. I'm just using them as a metric of rating. So that's why I got the top 7.
I thought you were comparing.
But the issue is, in Ring Magazine, Monster is actually higher rated than Spence.
Yeah, that's fine. But we're just talking.
But this is why they made him higher. Like, if we're going to use a ring metric to actually just prove.
Hold up, Smoke. I wasn't trying to say that. Oh, he's higher, therefore we win. Haha. I was just trying to use so we can have a fair ranking system where it's not super subjective and like the box rec where it's really bad. I was just using the Ring Magazine for ranking, and in fact, I wasn't even done with the. I don't feel it's really fair to compare 7 fighters to 21 fighters. So from there, I was going to let's take the top 7 from the weight classes that he competed in, and let's see if those are better than the ones that welterweight.
Right. What I'm saying is, instead of comparing them all together in one jumble and saying, "Hey, this is better," it's 1 versus 1. It is what division that any one division that Monster competed in that was at least comparable to, if not better than, welterweight. One division. Which one is?
How many top 5 fighters have each fought?
In a way,
everybody has top 5 in their division. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but how many has Spence fought, and how many has Inouye fought?
Inouye has done it across 3 divisions.
Inouye has
that's what I'm saying.
8 people.
It's not fair. It's not fair to compare.
Well, I mean, how would it not be fair if Spence is doing the same thing and he's fighting?
Again, you guys keep talking about Monster versus Spence. You guys really keep going back to Monster versus Spence, and I'm still trying to get division versus division. Right? How is bantamweight better than welterweight or no?
No, this is the point.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yes or no? Is the division better?
No, but look, he has fought in 3 divisions. So why would we just only go
understand that. I understand that, but I'm biased. I'm just trying to establish a baseline before we get back to the comparison. I'm trying to just compare one division to another. Is welterweight better than super bantamweight? Is welterweight deeper than super bantamweight?
So let me tell you what division I actually do feel is deeper than welterweight, and that is the super flyweight division.
You think the super flyweight is the deeper division? That's the division that you want to look at and say this is comparable to welterweight.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I personally feel it's superior. Estrada is a pound for pound. Rungbisa is a former pound for pound. Dani Nietes.
Okay, but forget pound for pound, man. That's somebody else's designation.
No,
just throw out what everybody else has said about them. We have our own metrics. We have our own metrics.
Okay, so
Kazuto Ioka versus anybody you want at welterweight. Let's do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Naoya Inoue versus anybody I want at welterweight.
Kazuto Ioka.
Naoya Inoue versus Sean Porter.
All right, Kazuto
Okay.
is a former unified champion. He's gone through 4 weight classes. He's beaten Kitapong
Oh my god.
at weight, who was able to defeat Evil Denjin to get his title. And then he defeated Akira Yagashi to unify the division. Then he beat Juan Carlos Reveco, who's not a great fighter, but, I mean, he was solid. He lost to Amnat Renrong, who beat John Real Casimero. And there's one other win that I'm forgetting that he had. But he also beat high-level prospect Javier Cintron, and he beat Aston Palcite, who drew with Donnie Nietes.
Okay, so if all we're gonna do is run off a bunch of stats off their resume, then I'll just pick Manny Pacquiao, and he'll kill everybody on everyone's resume. Like, that's ridiculous. That is a really ridiculous way to do this.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do Pacquiao. Pacquiao beats the super flyweight #1, right?
But I mean, can we get to the basis?
No, Pacquiao will beat everybody. Pacquiao will beat everybody.
Quality wins.
Combined? No.
I don't
No, yes, Pacquiao's resume is better than everybody's resume that you can come up with in all 3 of those divisions.
What are we
combined or not? Are you saying combined?
I don't know what you mean by combined. I mean,
why are we comparing? Why are we comparing fighters?
We're talking about division versus division, not divisions combined against one guy.
Yeah, but what's the point?
Matter? If Spence hasn't fought him, why are we comparing?
Because we're not talking about Spence. We're talking about division versus division. We're talking about the actual.
That has nothing to do for what the subject is of pound. Who's better at pound for pound?
That's okay. This is how it's relevant. This is how it's relevant, Raider. Because we're talking about when we're gauging the quality of win, we also have to gauge the actual division that the win happened in. No. When you say a guy's a champion, right? Doesn't it matter what division he's in? Doesn't the division matter, or is it just a champion is a champion?
The division doesn't matter if you're beating everybody that's a top opponent.
Right, but what if you're not beating everybody that's a top opponent? What if you're just skipping through divisions?
If you're skipping the divisions, then you wouldn't have any championships.
Why would that even matter?
No, but I'm saying, all you're doing is measuring quality by the fact that they're a champion.
No.
What are you talking about, Smoke?
I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. Jeff Horn was a champion. Terrence Crawford beating Jeff Horn made Terrence Crawford a champion. Was Jeff Horn the best? Was Jeff Horn the best competition at 147?
No.
Thank you. That's why I'm saying you can't just go by the fact that they're a champion.
Hold on. That did not make him pound for pound, and that is the crux of this whole argument, is Inouye being above Spence pound for pound. So
that's right. But using champions using just the fact that the guy was a champion as a metric.
No, we're not.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can't just use the fact that the guy was a champion as a metric to say that just by the virtue of him being a champion, that means he's the best.
But we're not.
We're going about.
Okay, but just a second ago we were. That's what I'm saying. Just a second ago we were. But just a second ago we were. That's what I'm saying. All it was this guy was a champion. That guy was a champion.
Quality opponents. Quality.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's my point. Can we go with quality opponents and not just have somebody else's pound for pound list and the fact that they're a champion?
That's what we just did.
Okay, so far let's if that's what you were doing, I missed that part because what I heard was he was a champion. That's what I heard, not actually the kind of the guy he was.
Okay,
not who he beat and why he was.
All right, so Smoke, now that you understand, can we go back over Inouye's resume and then break it down so Smoke can understand what we're trying to say?
It's not that. No, literally what Tangy just did was talk about a bunch of champions. That's what Tangy just did.
He picked somebody and explained why it was a quality win for Inouye. That's what he did.
Yes, and he used the metric of the guy that he beat was a champion.
Okay, fine, then let's do recency. He's beaten McWilliams Arroyo, who was the WBO champion, and he beat him, who was a legitimate champion. And that was a dude who gave Gonzalez a legit war and was also able to defeat Carlos Petrago, who was a champion. He then lost to Donnie Nietes in a close fight, which most believed he actually won. And Donnie Nietes is a very good fighter, of course. And then
really quick intangible, really quick, just to give some context, Donnie Nietes has held titles. Multiple titles over 2010. Over the 2010s, he was completely undefeated.
And then also he
okay.
Hold on.
Again, you guys said you're not going to use titles, but all you keep saying is titles and titles and titles. Who did they beat? Guys,
we're explaining.
Hold on, Smoke. Hold on. So what we're doing is we're breaking down why was it a quality win.
That's why.
Right, and the only reason that you're coming up with is the guy had a title.
No, but they're telling you who they. Hold on, Smoke.
Yeah, because the guy, and the reason why you're saying the guy he win was a quality win is because that guy had a title.
Smoke.
If the quality opponent happens to have a championship,
exactly.
No, that doesn't. Just because he has one, we're not gonna.
Okay, so how about this? How about this? Hey, let me help you. Let me see if you guys can help me. If I can help you, help me. If you can, instead of saying the guy was a champion, let's talk about the reason why the guy was an actual quality win. Instead of just saying he was a WBO champion, let me just finish. Instead of saying he beat a guy who was a WBO champion, say he beat a guy who beat this guy. The reason why that guy's their shit is not because he was a champion, is because he beat this guy who's an actual quality fighter.
Smoke, he did do that. He said that, but he also specified that he was a champion too. He said that he beat this guy, who beat this guy, who beat that guy, gave this guy a tough fight, and did this and that. But he said,
I get it. Listen, I can hear very well. I can hear it very well. I'm biased. I don't need an English breakdown. I heard what he said. I don't need an English breakdown because he said he beat this guy, and then he said, and that guy was a champion. Right? Not saying anything other than why that guy was a legitimate win, other than that guy was a champion.
He said that he did, actually.
He just said that he beat this guy who was a champion.
Because he said,
cool. I got you.
No. He said this guy was the champion. Go ahead. And that champion beat this guy. Then he said,
yes.
Who also was
okay, can we just say, how about we don't mention champion again? How about instead of doing this, instead of doing this whole thing about champion, let's just say because I don't have to say Manny Pacquiao beat this champion and champion. Because here's the thing, I don't have to tell. I don't have.
If the guy happens to be a champion, we're gonna name it. If you don't want to count it, then don't count it.
No, I mean what I'm saying is I don't have to tell you that Manny Pacquiao beat Eric Morales, and Eric Morales was a champion.
Smoke doesn't like.
I can say Eric Morales, he beat Eric Morales, and Eric Morales had wars with Antonio Barrera. Let me just explain what I'm saying to you. I'm saying that you can say what made Eric Morales great without saying Eric Morales was a champ. You can say he beat Eric Morales and Eric Morales beat Barrera.
Let me ask you something, Smoke. You said yourself that you don't know those lower divisions. We know Eric Morales is a champion.
No, I didn't say I didn't know. No, what I said is I don't follow them.
That's what I'm saying. Do you know they're champions? Do you know that they're champions?
I know who Rashid Warren is. Like, I've seen some fights.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the lighter weight classes.
I know. I'm saying I watched the fight. I said I don't follow the divisions.
These lighter guys are champions.
No, he doesn't. But look, I think the thing that Smoke is
no. The issue is not. The issue isn't whether or not. Listen, you're still missing my point. You're still missing my point.
Let's go back to what you said. You said that we don't have to say that Eric Morales was a champion because we know it, right? Okay, do you know that these guys are champions and these the ones we're talking about?
I'm saying it doesn't matter. I know you keep asking me what my knowledge base is, but it's a tangential point that I'm trying to make to you. When I say about Porter, I talk about Porter in these fights. Let me finish. Let me goddamn. Why do you guys keep like one after one? You guys keep trying to explain my point to me and miss it.
Raider, hold on.
Listen. Here's what I'm saying to you. When we talk about Sean Porter, I don't need to say Kell Brook was a champion or Paulie Malignaggi was a champion. I just talk about those guys because we know who those guys were and they're legitimate fighters. The fact that they're former champions if that is the only reason why you're legitimizing those guys, to me, doesn't make you legit just because you're a champion. So let's talk about how the guys that you're making these fights and the fights that these so-called champions have, and that made them them actually legitimate contenders outside of the fact that the sanctioning body blessed them.
Okay, so wait, hold on, buddy. All right. Let me get this. So the reason we're mentioning championships is to provide some context, because if you told us, right, like how would you know that this guy isn't the Manny Pacquiao or the Eric Morales of this division, right? It's just to provide some context. So when we say he's a champion, we're not saying he's good. Oh, how do you know? Oh, well, he's a champion. It's no. Just so it's easier to follow, so you understand, because I mean, there's a lot of fighters in a lot of divisions, right? When I say,
cool, so let's chop it up. I'm down to chop it up. We don't need to dumb it down. Let's chop it up. Let's actually instead of assuming I don't know. So you just say,
okay. I'm not assuming you don't know. This isn't a personal attack. This isn't anything about you. But this is to get context because we're also on a platform, right? So on the platform that we're currently on, I want to talk about. Okay, let's say somebody doesn't know who Nonito Donaire is, right? They just happen to not follow bantamweight. This isn't towards you. We're on a public panel. I want to talk about some of his accolades. He was a champion, a multiple weight champion, a Ring Magazine former top 5 for multiple years rated, right? He's a future Hall of Famer likely. He was a WBA champion at the time, so this gives some context because if I just start throwing names at you that people aren't really quite sure of where they've been, I'm just going to end up throwing a bunch of – hold up, please. If I just start throwing names, who did they beat? Throw more names. So who did those guys beat? Throw more names. We're just going to be in a name competition essentially, and if there's no context behind these names, it's going to be confusing to follow.
Can I say something?
Right, but there's no context behind the accolades either. If you
say something real quick,
Smoke, hold on, Smoke. You said it yourself. Hold on, you said it yourself that you don't follow the division. So how do I know that you know who this guy is or what accolades he has?
Okay, I get you. You'll know that when I start talking about their accolades. Like I said, like this, just because you're talking about how great Nonito Donaire is, what you left out is the dude's been losing recently a lot, right? A ton.
But we're not talking about Nonito.
So what I'm saying is, can we put it into context and not just try to put the best foot forward when you know that we're talking about a guy who's also faded.
When Intangible was actually listing off the guys. I wish we could just rewind it because he actually said this guy was a champion. He beat this guy. He beat that guy. All he did was add context to the individual he was talking about. He didn't say this.
Correct.
Guy. Wait, I'm not done. He didn't say this guy was good because he was a champion. He said he was a champion who beat this guy and went on to explain why it was a significant win. It wasn't that the fact that he said he was a champion means anything. He was just telling you context. That's it.
Right. The only context he provided for that guy being good was that he was a champion.
That's not true.
That's not true. See,
okay, then whatever. Okay, then tell me.
Okay,
then tell me. Then please tell. Then please tell me. Please tell me.
As soon as he said champion, you didn't hear anything else. As soon as he said champion,
no. Listen. Here's what I'm saying. Here, I'll break it down for you, right? Just for Monster and Nonito Donaire. In that fight, that was a fight to me of young versus old. Of a passing of a torch of a young guy versus an old guy. Nonito Donaire is very accomplished, but he's definitely years past his prime, right? And it was a competitive fight where the old lion showed some that he still had some heart, but actually he wasn't able to overcome the onslaught, the combination punching, the sheer force of will and talent that is, and the faster hand of Monster, right? And even though he got his orbital bone broke, he still came out victorious, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, tell me how these guys are better. Tell me what the hell happened in the fight. Don't just go like the guy was a champion, he beat him. Like I can do that myself on BoxRec.
Can we go over the resume? Apparently, Smoke didn't hear. So Intangible, would you like to repeat that again? I guess.
You want me to do Donaire or Ioka or whoever I was saying?
Just go over Inouye.
Okay, here's really the issue. Here's really the issue. The issue is that we're still comparing guys. And my question was, you're saying that flyweight is better than welterweight. So right, so it's not about which right. So really, it's not about. It's based on what? Because the best resume, one of the best resumes in boxing, is actually at welterweight, and there's nobody at flyweight who's going to match Manny Pacquiao's resume.
Not one for one, and I agree on that. What I'm saying is the total body of the top fighters at super flyweight, I believe, are more accomplished than the top fighters at welterweight, excluding, and I'm not saying you can't use this comparison at all, but Pacquiao usurps any active fighter at the moment, but besides Pacquiao, the next best resume is who? Errol Spence, and then Crawford is the champion, but who did he beat? And then Porter, and then Thurman. And those guys, those guys are all good because they fought each other, right? And I feel the same thing has occurred at super flyweight. But the thing at super flyweight is more of these guys. And this, I said this is my opinion. So when I say pound for pound, I don't want you to freak out and start screaming. But my opinion and other notable and reputable media sources, multiple of these guys have been or currently are pound for pound level fighters in the sense that they are very talented and their skill set would transcend their weight class. And they've accomplished a lot of things and they've beaten a lot of people, including some of each other. I mean, they've mixed it up with each other, and that's why they're really good. Fighters like Donnie Nietes have fought Ioka, and Calify just fought Roman Gonzalez, and Roman Gonzalez has fought Estrada, and he's also fought in Sorongvisai, and Sorongvisai has fought Estrada. So these guys, when they mix it up, they enhance each other's legacy. And welterweight is certainly a division that shows that, but it's not as much as a super flyweight, in my opinion.
Hey, but why are you guys comparing what division is better? I don't understand.
Because we're still talking about level of competition, right? Because that's how because we're still trying to establish a pound for pound guy. I'm trying to establish a pound for pound guy based on a.
You go based on what's available in your division, not what division is better.
No, but I'm just saying, I got you. We're comparing two guys who aren't in the same divisions, right? Yes, so then what is our metric? What's our metric?
So it doesn't matter.
Go based on what's available. What opponent? What the top opponent?
Right. So if all of your okay, let's take 154 in cruiserweight.
No, let's talk about what's on Spence's resume. That's it. How about that?
Correct.
We can talk about what's on Spence's resume, and for me, Spence's best win is way better than Monster's best win.
But it's not. And that's the issue.
Okay, I mean, I get you. You think beating a name is better than beating the guy that shows up on the night because he has a name?
No.
Wait a second. You cannot say beating a name is better than the other guy because they were both close fights. Both of them were really close fights.
No, my point is Sean Porter is in his prime and Nonito Donaire is not. So if you're saying that an out of prime Nonito Donaire presents a tougher challenge than an in prime Sean Porter, I'm ready to have that debate.
Okay, so that's funny because if you wanted to talk about the Manny Pacquiao pooping on everyone in the other divisions, Pacquiao's older than Donaire, and he's lost more than Donaire, and he's been KO'd more times than Donaire. However, he's still a top fighter in the division because he's what? He's proven himself against the competition that's at the top of his division. So despite
recently,
these guys,
exactly. Thurman is better. Thurman is better than everybody that Donaire has fought since he lost to Rigondeaux. He's better than Nicholas Walters. He's better than whoever the hell that dude just beat. Like he's better than all those guys.
Okay,
he's
guys,
got better wins than all of those dudes.
We're gonna have to wrap it up because this is a fundamental disagreement. It seems if you're gonna be saying
so wait a minute, you're saying Nicholas Walters, Nicholas Axeman Walter.
Hold up. You're not
better than Steve Thurman.
Hold up, Smoke. Well, you're not taking exactly. I'm trying to say an out of prime Nietes, an out of prime Donaire is still because he's out of his prime. He's not he's shot. He's just out of his prime. So an out of prime Donaire is superior to an in prime Porter because who's Porter's best win at welterweight? Danny Garcia, right?
Yeah.
Who has Danny Garcia beat at welterweight?
Nobody.
Robert Guerrero. That's a
Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Yeah. Okay.
Robert
cool.
The Ghost Guerrero. That is a biblical beast.
Hey, you know what? You know what? Robert the Ghost Guerrero gave a one-handed Mayweather all he could take when it came to being able to eat a jab all night. So look, when it came to eating a jab for 12 rounds, like Robert Guerrero showed.
So Spence's best wins, right?
Showed a propensity to do it like no other. What'd you say?
Let's go to his top two. So that's Porter and then Kell Brook. Now let's go to Inouye's top two.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you got. Here's what you're glossing over while you talk about. Like I said, you did not address my question. But in the last 15 fights, right? This is 15 fights. No, actually, it's not even 15 fights. I think it's like 14 fights. My man's got like 5 losses, right? Let's look at Sean Porter's last 14 fights.
Okay, listen.
I mean, if you look at Sean Porter's whole career, he hasn't lost 5 fights. His entire career, he hasn't lost 5 fights.
Manny Pacquiao lost to Jeff Horn in a tough fight. I mean,
by the way, he's lost 4 fights. 2 Sean Porter's 3. Okay. He has 5 career losses, and his 4 losses came against Nicholas Walters, who was moving up in weight, against Carl Frampton, who was above him in weight, Guillermo Rigondeaux, and who's the other?
Magdaleno.
Yeah, nobody. And, he lost to nobody coming up. But I'm just saying, so once he started losing, he kept losing.
Chamber
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. Like I'm saying, since he started, his first loss in forever. His first loss in forever was to Guillermo Rigondeaux. Like he lost his like second or third fight or something like that. Like he was way up. Right. So since then, since he actually started winning, he beat everybody all the way up until Rigo. Once he lost to Rigo, he's lost now how many more times? 3 more times?
Okay, but that's a lie.
Okay, that's not a lie. That's the actual fact. You can look that up.
Okay, he lost to Rigondeaux, then he won 2 times, then he lost to Nicholas Walters, then he won 5 times, and then he lost to Jesse Magdaleno, right? Then
that's 3 more times. That's what I said. Since he fought Guillermo, he's fought 3 more times. That's not a lie.
You're conveniently glossing over the wins he achieved. Like Jorge Arce is not
listen. Okay, listen. If I said in 14 fights he lost 5, that means he won 9 other fights.
In 14 fights he lost 4, not 5.
What are you guys talking about, man? You guys are already losing me.
No, we're talking about the Nonito Donaire that showed up on the night of the monster fight. Where was he in his career? And not only where was he in his career, was that a superior product to what Sean Porter brought to in the road when he faced Errol Spence?
He's probably in the same as Pacquiao.
So, no, but we're not talking about that. Right now, we're talking about Donaire versus Porter.
So
right now, we're talking about Donaire versus Porter. The version that Porter, the version of Porter that Spence faced versus the version of Donaire that Monster faced.
So what about the Omar Narvaez win for Inouye?
Narvaez.
Okay, right. But I thought you guys were just telling me how Donaire was better than Porter.
Yeah, it is. So if you're gonna use your logic of he lost the fight, so he sucks now. I mean, Sean Porter before.
I didn't say who said that. Who said that? I didn't say he sucked. I didn't say he lost the fight, so he sucked. I didn't say that.
So Sean Porter
that's not my argument.
And welterweight.
Yeah, because I mean, you kind of fucked that up because Sean Porter lost to everybody that was good at welterweight besides Danny.
I know who Danny beat.
Danny is good
at welterweight. I know who Danny beat at welterweight.
So are we saying Ugas is not good at welterweight?
No, you know who Danny beat at welterweight?
Who did Ugas beat at welterweight though?
So are we saying that Ugas is not good at welterweight?
Who did he beat?
I like Ugas.
I'm asking a question. You literally just said that he hasn't beat.
You're literally Smoke. I muted you because you're literally interrupting me answering your question. I personally like Ugas, but if you want to look at his resume prior to fighting Sean Porter, and I don't want to say this because I actually do truly like Ugas, but who did Yordenis Ugas defeat? That was such a spectacular win.
Nobody.
His best win is Omar Figueroa at welterweight.
No, it's Ray Robinson, Thomas Delorme in a close fight. Like these are good fighters. Jamal James. These are good fighters, but these are not the level where I would even like. It's just not at that level. Do I have to explain? They're not that level, correct? Danny Garcia.
Right. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Okay, so
who's his best win? Who's Andre Berto's best win?
Right. I got what you guys are saying, but I got what you guys are saying when you are like I said, if you wanted to just look at BoxRec and say who did he fight and what happened in these, like what I said to me now when you start saying stuff like this, I got to bring up Paulie Malignaggi, right? Because if you want to talk about who a guy's been in there with, like he's been in there with Cody, he's been in there with everybody. He didn't win all of his fights, but he won some of his fights. And he's been in there with everybody, right? Well, if you wanted to, this particular tact seems to be a little bit off subject. My point about Donaire is that he was past his prime, and Porter is in his prime. So now, what I'm saying is, who is saying to me, who is making the argument and making a legitimate argument based on metrics that Donaire was better? Was a better fighter than Sean Porter.
If I start bringing up metrics, you're going to say, "Why are we talking numbers? Let's go back to fighters."
No, I'm talking about by what definable thing. Like if which win in Nonito Donaire's recent history puts that over the Danny Garcia win, because Sean Porter in his last 2 fights beat Danny Garcia and Yordenis Ugas. Who did Nonito Donaire beat in his last 2 fights?
So when
Well,
if you're talking about his last few fights, I mean, he beat.
We're now boiling down his entire resume.
Right,
and
but that's
body of
right
all-
because we're talking because you guys because you made the argument that Nonito Donaire was a better fighter than Sean Porter. The Nonito Donaire that Monster faced was a better fighter than the Sean Porter that Errol Spence faced.
I said it was a better win.
No, I'm talking about the better fighter. That's my whole point. Is that
Why
you
are we
guys
talking
talk about names and you're using resumes to pump up a name, and I'm talking about the
No.
guys that they actually fought on the night.
You're now talking about how first of all, you boiled down a Hall of Fame career to two fights, right? Yeah, he's
Right,
never
because that's the
lost
guy he faced on the so how far in the past do you want to go to give Nonito Donaire some props on the night that he faced Monster Inoue? Because he wasn't the same fighter he was 2 years prior to that, right? So I went 2 fights because 2 fights is like a year before that.
Okay, so Smoke. So there's no way that Donaire could have had a good fight and what could have been in his prime in that fight, just like how Pacquiao did Thurman.
What are you saying? What are you talking about?
What I'm saying is, how do you know that Nonito Donaire was not in his prime the day he fought Inouye? That day, that night.
And you've used Pacquiao Thurman as an example because Pacquiao was not in his prime that night against Thurman. He just was able to really what he did is he caught Thurman slipping in the first round. And he was also beating his ass and did some other shit, but he wasn't in his prime. That was not prime Pacquiao. We just witnessed against Thurman.
Right, but
okay, he was not in his prime, but he was able
Manny.
to beat a champion, right? A top welterweight.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and Donaire gave one of the best accounts of himself versus Monster.
Okay, now is one of the best accounts of himself. You guys told me that Monster Inoue was a better fighter than Sean Porter, right? Meanwhile, Monster Inoue was getting his ass beat. I mean, not Monster, sorry, Nonito Donaire. Meanwhile, Nonito Donaire was getting his ass beat by a guy who was getting pieced the fuck up by a dude who threw his shoulder out, right? And then he knocked out a dude that can't fucking fight. Right, that is Nonito Donaire's recent. That is the Nonito Donaire that Monster Inoue fought.
That's true. Yeah, Sean Porter was getting his ass beat by Ugas, who got fucking.
Yeah, he was. I'm not saying he was. I'm not saying he was. But you know what? There's a huge difference between Ugas and Young.
He lost to a Mary Mon.
Okay, and you know who Young lost to? Do you want to talk about who Young? Do you want to talk about Young's? Come on, man. Like, really, are you trying to say that Young is comparable to Ugas?
You're hyping up Ugas. When if we go through Ugas's resume, it literally.
Do you want to go through Young's resume?
He beat nobody.
Right. So Young, who did Young beat?
I mean, if you want to,
it's a comparison.
Hey, but Smoke,
who Olympian? He was able to be.
Young was also a late replacement
and become a champion at that weight. I mean,
right now it's late replacements. Now we're making excuses for Young. Yeah, really, what this is about is Donaire, right? This is not about how Young is a late replacement.
His opponents in the World Boxing Super Series.
Ugas lost to Emmanuel
You're all over the place.
Crazy.
Hey, but
okay.
Smoke.
So was Young a good winner? No.
Who did Porter beat convincingly at a top welterweight?
Yes. So who did Young beat convincingly?
Wasn't Young a late replacement?
Yes, he was.
Yes, but he still fought him, right? It was still his opponent.
Yeah,
I'm not saying we didn't talk about right. Great, it was a late replacement. He still sucked as an opponent, correct? Are we gonna do is this only we're just gonna pick apart Sean Porter and we're not gonna pick apart Donaire? Because I thought we're comparing the two.
Yeah, but you're. I mean,
yeah, we are.
Okay, so great. So now we're going you guys. We talked about you guys. We talked about Garcia.
Okay, cool.
So now let's talk about the last 2 opponents for Nonito Donaire.
Okay, he had a draw with Antonio Nueves, right? And he's a good fighter. And Donaire just straight up knocked the guy out.
Shit.
What?
Smoke, tell me about.
I think Alberta's taking over.
Oh, where you at?
Is a bum.
Oh, shit. Oh, you guys somewhere? You can still hear me?
Yeah.
I can't. Okay, cool. I can't see you anymore. I can't. I would love to put my mic on mute, but I lost you somewhere. All right, so go ahead. Sorry, what were you saying, Tanji?
Tell me how Ryan Burnett is not a viable opponent for Donaire at 118. Tell me about him.
What do you want me to tell you about Ryan Burnett?
Yes.
The guy that are you saying the guy before Young?
Yes.
All right, so it was a viable opponent. I'm not saying that he wasn't a viable opponent. I'm saying that he was whooping Donaire's ass.
Okay.
I don't really agree.
What round did that fight stop again? I'm sorry.
It stopped in the fourth round.
So 4 rounds
in the final 3 rounds. Or in the final couple of rounds, rather.
I mean, we can say Korobov was destroying Eubank until he, his shoulder. It's 4 rounds. Like, really?
Yeah, but the only problem is the Korobov fight was 1 round.
Whole conversation. Like, I thought we were comparing Spence to Inoue and the level of competition. That we went to comparing divisions. Like, can we get to?
Yeah, because we're comparing the best wins, right? We're saying that Nonito Donaire is Monster's best win, and Sean Porter is Errol Spence's best win. And my contention was Sean Porter was a better win than Nonito Donaire because Nonito Donaire was actually out past his prime, where Sean Porter was in his prime. So now you guys are trying to convince me, or you guys are making the argument. You're not trying to convince me. Sorry, you're not trying to convince me. You're just making the argument that actually Ryan with that.
So what about the
Smoke? So who was Errol's? Who was Sean Porter's 4 toughest fights? Not toughest. His 4 best fights, like top fights. Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. Who else? Kell Brook. Smoke.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get to, because we're talking about one single win, and if we continuously go down Inoue's wins, they're better than Errol Spence, not just one.
Right, but we're continuously, but we now need to continuously go down. But we always have to continuously go down because we won't drill down into one particular thing. When I ask about one thing, the goalpost gets moved to another. So at this point, I still am waiting on how Nonito Donaire is a better one. But now you want to go down the rest of the resume, so we can just say that it's not. All right. So then I'm going to just say that let's go to the rest of the resume and say that Sean Porter is actually a better win than Nonito Donaire.
I don't think so, because Nonito Donaire is a Hall of Famer. But I mean, that's your opinion. So
Porter fought Spence, Thurman, Brook, Garcia. Those are probably his toughest opponents, and he lost 3 out of 4, and almost could have lost against Danny.
And almost
but he also could have won the fights that he lost.
And almost.
So if we can talk about the fights he could have lost, we also can talk about the fights he could have won.
And almost lost.
But he didn't.
So,
but
he also won. But he also almost beat Spence and Thurman.
Yeah, but he didn't.
But he didn't.
Yeah, I get it. But he also didn't lose to those other guys. I mean, I don't understand. You said almost. Why is it almost only matters when it's about losses, but not about wins?
I even personally thought Porter beat Spence, but that is a whole different discussion.
Yeah, but the matter of fact is he lost those.
I got it. When it's your point, it's almost. But it's my point, it's the fact. I got you.
Of course.
I just thought we were comparing.
I get you. Like, all right. Like this is a debate though, man. I'm trying to come up with objective metrics and not really debate, but whatever. For some reason, prime don't matter no more. All we're doing is brand.
I'm not L Dog. I'm not L Dog.
I
just thought we were comparing resumes.
I thought we're trying to compare. Like, really, what we're talking about is we're trying to compare the quality of fighter on the night that they faced him, right? Not whether or not he has a better resume overall on the night. Like on the night, Manny Pacquiao had a better resume than Jeff Horn. That doesn't mean that on the night Manny Pacquiao was better than Jeff Horn.
No, because he didn't beat him.
Right, I'm just using that as a point. I actually feel like he did beat him, but whatever, he didn't get the nod. But that's also a subject of another day for a different day. I'm just saying that it's not just about the resume when it comes; it's actually the fighter that shows up that night.
Right.
And the fighter that showed up on that night was a hell of a fighter, and definitely a fighter who represented the Hall of Fame, Nonito Donaire. It's not like it was a shell of himself or a ghost, like some trash fighter. It's a little ridiculous that you're trying to say he was like washed and past his prime so much so that he's bad.
No, I'm saying so much past his prime that he's not as good. It's not as good as it wasn't the same. He didn't face a fighter. He wasn't as good as Sean Porter was. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying Sean Porter was better that night. What I saw from Nonito Donaire in that performance, to me, showed signs of age. If he was a younger guy, I think that fight would have gone differently.
We could say the same thing about Porter and versus Ugas. Like
But
that, he showed
right,
signs,
but I'm not.
signs
But
of age.
right,
He's
I mean,
slowing down.
actually, I think that Sean Porter didn't show signs of aging in that fight. I think Sean Porter showed a lot of vet to see that all Ugas was trying to do was lead, and so he was very strategic. And when he engaged the fight and actually controlled the pace the whole time, while Ugas was just standing there. I don't know if I lost you guys. I can't see you anymore. Oh, here we go. Booyah! There you are.
Yeah, we got Reader NLA and Rascal on the panel now.
Hey, real quick, get this smoke. You keep saying that Porter is in his prime, but you know he turned pro 12 years ago.
Yeah, he's not in his prime. I've been trying to explain
he's
that.
He's not in his prime.
Okay, so like I said, I'm not okay. So when did he lose his? When did he leave his prime?
Dude, he was struggling against. He almost lost to Ugas. Dude, he's
okay. So when did he leave his prime? You're not answering my question, Ross. By the way, peace, Ross. I know you're in the back. You're in Cali like me.
Hold on.
But which fight do you think was his prime? Where he left his prime?
He lost to a green version of Kell Brook. No one knew who Kell Brook was unless you was a diehard boxing fan, and he beat him. Pretty easy.
Okay, so when I'm asking you, what fight do you think was the end of Sean Porter's prime?
I don't know what's the end of his prime. All I know is he's not in his prime. He's been boxing for 12 years.
Okay,
yeah,
that's it. He's been boxing for 12 years, therefore he's not in his prime?
He's not in his prime, man.
Okay, I got you. So anyway, I haven't seen signs of aging as being a reason why Sean Porter is not getting.
He didn't look old against Ugas.
Yes,
he didn't look old against Ugas.
He did, yes.
No.
Yes, he did.
Not to me, he didn't. I think he beat Ugas with his leg.
Hey, get this smoke, you a troll, man. I'm out of here.
He definitely
okay. I'm trolling because I said he beat him with his legs. An old man beat him with his legs. Like, that's a troller? Okay.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I actually agree with you. I don't think Porter is like a shot fighter or past his prime in any sense.
But he's not in his prime.
You know what? If he's not past his prime, that means he's in his prime.
He might be
like, what's going on with the meaning of words right now? Like,
I think he's at the end of his prime.
Right. So,
I mean, the reason why people thought he lost to Ugas was because he was being outboxed and bullied at points in the fight. And that's not the same Sean Porter that we're all used to. And he did.
I agree, but he did give a good fight to Spence, though.
Yeah, he did, but that doesn't mean that he's in his prime, is my point, because you could still give a fighter a good, like Floyd. Floyd was clearly out of his prime when he fought Canelo, right? But he just has that great of skill sets to beat Canelo. Sean Porter, in my opinion, is out of his prime, but his style is his style. So he's going to give you that version of him no matter what. And to me, it looks like he lost a step versus Ugas, even though I felt like he did edge the fight out. Didn't look like the same Sean Porter I was used to. And versus Spence, it looked like he just basically found a new page and reinvented himself. But that doesn't mean that he's in his prime.
Okay, so it doesn't mean out of his prime either. So the style that he showed in Ugas, he debuted in the fight before that against Garcia, where he was using his legs more and not just rushing in and try to bully a guy, and he picked his spots in order to...
Right, but that doesn't mean he's in his prime, just because he did that. Like, old fighters can reinvent themselves, too. Prime fighters can reinvent themselves, too.
I think someone in the chat right now, Samuel Shaw, is saying, so is there an age on prime? And to an extent, there is, and it's kind of dependent on division. Some of the smaller guys enter their prime sooner and leave it sooner, and some guys are in their prime later, and some guys, the prime is irrelevant, like Donnie Nietes, who's a fighter at...
if you look at what both were recently...
and he's done excellently, even though he's like 37, 38 in a very low division. And you have guys who prime really early, like Mike Tyson. You have guys who prime late, like Vladimir Klitschko. And I'm actually on the side of Smoke. I don't feel that he's past his prime. I think he actually found a new style, like what Bias is saying, but I don't think it was as much out of necessity. I think he knew he was going to fight Spence, and the style to fight Spence, he started that against Ugas. And unfortunately, Ugas came to fight, and it was a really close fight, and you could have even given it to Ugas. But,
See, I think he
but
started that style again. I think he started. I think he tried it against Garcia first, right? He knew he was going to fight Spence.
He boxed him.
5, 6, 7.
He boxed him, and he was boxing well, and that's kind of why he beat him, right? So
there is no age in prime, that's for sure.
No, it's about your
I don't know.
style.
I'm not quite sure what troll means. Troll just seems to be a catch-all phrase now. I don't even know what troll means. Like, my opinion now is a troll. Like, okay.
Well, a troll is like an El Jefe kind of person, you know, and that's a troll.
Yeah, like El Jefe is trying to start shit. El Jefe is like instigating. He doesn't actually like believes what he says, or he's saying what he thinks in a provocative kind of way. I don't think I am.
No, but I'm just saying.
I'm saying Sean Porter wasn't in it. I think Sean Porter's still in his prime.
Yeah, I mean,
I can get with at the tail end of his prime, leaving his prime, all of that. But leaving his prime still is he's in his prime.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I was waiting for somebody else.
No, I'm just saying, like age isn't a factor, but it also depends on your style, right? Like Triple G is going to leave his prime before most fighters because he takes a lot of punishment. Sean Porter, in his career, he did get hit a lot. And now on top of that, just because you are in or out of your prime, like you could be an out of prime fighter, but still reinvent the wheel. You could do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just because you came with a different game plan in a fight doesn't mean that you're now in your prime still.
Hey, kind of off topic real quick. What the hell is a Rombi?
Oh, it's like a vacuum cleaner that's like a robot. You just leave it around and it just goes around and vacuums up all the time.
Yeah,
no, a shape.
Oh, what?
A shape.
rhombus?
Rhombus. Yeah, rhombus shape.
Oh, rhombus.
Rhombus is like so the bottom is long, and then the two on the side kind of almost make a triangle, and then stop. It's like a triangle, but you shave off the top.
All right, and a trapezoid, what's that?
A trapezoid?
A trapezoid is a four-sided. It's like a triangle, but only two of the sides. Two of the sides are parallel to each other, are equal to each other, and the other two are not.
Imagine the rhombus, right?
I'm doing homework with my son. My son's in kindergarten, and they're giving him these questions over here. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know
Okay, so a rhombus is a triangle, and you cut off the top, and then a trapezoid is a rhombus, but you stretch out one of the sides.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know where I'm biased from, but I think I don't imagine. I mean, how many of these debates have we actually come to an official agreement? Right, we normally come to a compromise. So let's start that process now. Smoke. Do you believe it makes sense why someone would rate Inoue above Spence?
If only you were to look at BoxRec. But if you actually were to take into account historically what pound for pound was about, then no, I don't get it at all. Not at all.
Do you get it on the resume? Because the resume is superior for Inouye. I think that's pretty. And I'm not trying to say resume with full like how you're saying welterweights are better.
Here's the problem. Here's actually the problem. The problem is how much do you think the sanctioning bodies have monopolized the sport, right? So is it about top 10 ranked in a sanctioning body or even a magazine, or is it about who these guys fought and what happened in the fight? And that's really the discussion that we're having. How much credence do you give to sanctioning bodies and outside ranking systems versus how much credence do you give to the level of opponent that you're fighting? And how do you judge how tough that opponent is?
Yeah. But I think that like where do you have Inouye roughly on your pound for pound, right?
I have him below. I have him like below Beterbiev and Taylor. And
then why do you have Beterbiev and Taylor there? Like the similar thing as Spence?
Because I think they're a little bit more complete fighters. I could probably give it to Monster just because I don't think he's been tagged. Like Better Beef, I feel like people have explored his weaknesses and has been able to overcome them over that. Like for Monster, I think that the fact that how he hangs his chin out there while he's throwing combinations, I don't think anyone's really exploited that. I think Nonito did in spots, but Nonito is too old to actually exploit it to the fullest. So
is there
that's really what it is. I think the Better Beef and Taylor are actually more complete fighters.
Is there a fighter you believe has the skill set to defeat Inoue at near his weight class?
Yeah, I think that I would like to see the Rigo fight, because I think Rigo is the kind of guy that has that one shot power that could actually punch in between shots. He's still a little bit old, right? He's not a little bit old. He's definitely old, but he definitely has that kind of style that would test Monster's chin.
Would you rate Rigo, like, where do you rate him currently at bantamweight?
Not high, like, not high. He's been gone. He hasn't looked great. He's all right. To me, he's a guy. He's like gatekeeper to elite. Like if you can beat Rigo, then that means you're elite.
I think Gaethje. I mean, give Gaethje a little more credit. We're gonna have an MMA talk after this now. I think Gaethje's good. I mean, isn't he like now the interim champ? He's ranked number 1. I don't want to talk about that. So you're saying
Justin Gaethje? Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You say Justin Gaethje?
Are you talking about the MMA guy?
Yeah, I thought you said Justin Gaethje. My bad. My bad. That was
me?
Just, I misheard
no, I didn't
you.
say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
I just misheard you. That's why I just started talking about MMA. My bad.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, Monster to me has some developing to do before I put him up there. Like I like all the guys that are up there to me are complete fighters, or at least have mastered their style and have had the deficiencies in their game tested by an elite guy who's willing to test, who can test them and did, right? And they came through the fire. To me, Monster has been so much better than his opposition, or his opposition wasn't really able to exploit his weakness because they're just a little bit past it, and they don't have a style that's meant for that, right? Like, but Monster, like the fact that Rigo is a lot more defensively responsible, I think he'll be able to get that shot off that he needs to get off on Monster.
Yeah, okay, I get where you're coming from there, but would you rate Rigo in the top 10 or top 3, or like, because he's currently a title holder technically, right?
He's got a title, but he's got like a ceremonial belt, kind of. I'm not. Yeah, I don't think that Rigo beats a lot of guys at the top, but I definitely would like to see the Monster fight.
Okay, so
because I think Monster, like.
Yeah, I assume you think it's overrated or not quite up to snuff, but
Yeah, no, it's just that Monster. Like I see Monster being rated as like number 2, and I'm like, Lomachenko's still active, Crawford is still active, Canelo is still active, and to me, those guys are master boxers. They're not just blasting out their competition in these divisions. Like that's not, to me, that's not pound for pound.
Yeah. So personally, I have him around 4 or 5. And Usyk moving up to heavyweight has really screwed it up for me, because I normally didn't have heavyweights on my list, and I felt like unifying cruiserweight, like he deserved to be there, and now he's at heavyweight. So I'm gonna have to kind of reassess that soon, I think. But I could have him between 4 and 5, and even 3 if you really want to push him over Lomachenko and Crawford. I'm not gonna say much, but I haven't seen him at number 2 yet, and I definitely do not think he's number 1, because I could name several fighters, like I'm saying. Crawford, Lomachenko, Canelo, Usyk, those guys definitely have an argument for being over him. But essentially the reason I rate him above Errol Spence, because I feel Errol Spence has only defeated, and I don't mean only in a battleweight, but when we're talking about pound for pound, they're held to much higher standards, right? I feel he's defeated 2 champions, 2 people that were current champions. And did he beat any former champions that were at welterweight? Like, did he beat anyone that was a former welterweight champion? I'm forgetting. Lamont Peterson, was he former?
Not at one. I'm not sure if he got a 147 belt. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Check. And I'm not sure if Lucien Bute ever did either. I'm not Lucien Bute.
Hey, Smoke. What's your top 5 pound for pound then?
Yeah, Lamont is a former champion.
Crawford, Loma, Canelo, Spence, Pacquiao.
Okay, you have Spence over Pacquiao.
Yeah, that's just because I think Spence can beat Pacquiao.
That's like rankings in the like I think you can have Usyk high on pound for pound without him beating Fury or Joshua because it's pound for pound. It's a different. You're saying
there is no heavyweight in my pound for pound. There's just not. Like the same thing messed me up about Usyk. The reason why Monster is as high as he is because I had to take Usyk out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, Raider, do you want to? I think I'm going to close the stream out soon. This was a good discussion, and I'm glad we got to kind of cover our points and give our perspective because now I have a better understanding of what you consider pound for pound, and hopefully you have a better understanding of how I consider ranked wins, champions defeated, like that kind of stuff as my thing for pound.
Definitely I do. Yeah,
right, cool.
even still, Monster number 2.
Yeah, no.
Even with that metric, Monster number 2 seems.
No, I don't do that. I don't have a number 2.
I have him 4.
That's fine. Yeah, that's about where I have him.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is, I think Monster is a guy. He's just one guy away from exploiting the fact that his chin, like his defensive deficiencies.
I think his main defensive deficiency, and I'm just going to do a little tangent, and then we'll do our closing thoughts. His main defense deficiencies aren't so much when he's on the defensive as when he's on the offensive. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like when he's throwing a body shot, he leaves his face wide open.
Yeah, when he throws a bunch of shots, he leaves his face wide open. That's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of that particular tendency is fatal. Like
IBT, you know who else is like that? That I don't like when he throws a body shot and he leaves his face wide open. Julio Cesar Martinez.
Yeah, I like Martinez too, but I think he's still in the developmental stage, and I think with the Reynoso camp, he's only going to get better. But he's a little he's a little too eager to go to war. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, hey, you guys wanna tomorrow do that Charlo and Korobov?
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
If I can, I will. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it. Tomorrow's Friday, so Friday night. We're not doing nothing at night.
Is today really Thursday?
Yeah. So.
I swore I thought it was Tuesday all day.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Man, Smoke, you've been on too many lives, dude. You've been on too many lives. You wake up, go on live, and then go to sleep, wake up, go on live.
And actually, no, dude, it's even better. It's even worse than that. I've worked all this time too. Like I have no clue what day it is.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's.
I work too. That's why I know. That's why I know it's Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't. Obviously.
No, man. IBT, another great one, man. You should do more. You should. I know you have obligations outside, in your real life, but yeah, your lives are fun. You should do it more often.
Thanks, man. Raider, you want to do your final thoughts?
Yeah, no. Good debate today. It was pretty good, man. I liked it. But yeah, tomorrow we'll do that one if everybody's available. You guys are available. Could chop it up, do that Korobov and Charlo.
Wait,
should be
Friday
good.
Today? Oh, no.
Tomorrow, Friday.
Black and Brown totally trolled me, but it's Friday in the chat, and I freaked out. Yeah, I would like to do more streams, and it's something that I've been trying to do, but the only issue is I'm going to be a little busy this month, but next month they should start coming out more frequently, more uploads too, because I don't think I've uploaded an actual video in like a week. I've been slowing down a little because of outside stuff, yeah, but definitely down to be doing some more lives. I got some ideas like this, I don't think this is very it's not really talked about often, I guess, and I think these are both fighters that deserve respect and attention. And Raider, if you want to plug your channel in the chat right now, let's do that, because tomorrow we'll have a time set up when we're gonna watch the fight, and I'll put your video in my description. and I'll tweet it out and put it in the groups and all my hangouts or whatever.
What'd you say to plug what?
To plug your channel.
How would I do that?
Like just talk about what you're gonna do, or put your channel link in the chat or something.
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Just talk about like it's not literally plug. It's like just shout out your own channel.
Oh,
just say yeah.
Yeah, man. Fucking tomorrow, we're gonna do that Charlo and Korobov rescore, and for whoever doesn't know, is Raider from LA boxing.
Yeah, just say what's up in the chat, and so people can they'll click on your icon.
Oh, I can't even write in the chat. I'm on my phone.
All right, I'll put your channel.
See, you got one of them janky phones. You don't have a dual screen phone like me. I have the chat
screen?
and the StreamYard. Yeah, I got a dual screen. That's what I'm saying. I'm working on some new tech today.
What do you mean dual screen?
Okay.
Oh no, I mean you know what? Hold on. Let me see. I think I could. Hold on.
Oh.
I gotta go to YouTube, right?
Yeah. I'll do it if you'd like. It's okay, man. I'm on a computer anyways, but yeah, I've enjoyed the stream. Thank you guys for coming on the panel. I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone, and I appreciate all the support. I'm gonna be anyone who's on the panel. Hopefully, I don't forget, but I'm gonna try to put your channels in the description so we can essentially, plug and share. And shout out to if you made it this far, rewatching the video. That's really cool. Big ups to you. The link is in the chat right now. Go check them out. Rated from LA Boxing. We're going to be doing a Korobov versus Jamal Charlo rescoring tomorrow in the afternoon Pacific Standard Time. And thanks everyone for coming. I hope you appreciated it. And shout out to Get the Smoke and Rated from LA for just being on here the whole time.
Yeah, peace, man.
Yeah, peace.
All right, later.
See you, man. Have a good day.
All right, thanks, man. Hey.